My cat is really, really antsy right now. I don't know why. I think I'm about ready here. Oh my god, kitty. You need to chill. My god, this cat. Come on, man. What? Chill out for a minute, man. I just got home. Why you gotta be so excited all the time, bud? Yeah, chill. Here, you guys can see this. Oh, this one. Oh. Look at this dude. He will not chill. Huh, Buggy. He's so excited. I'm home. Yeah, bud. Oh, okay, you can't see the butt. Come on, bud. Come on, sit down. That'd be so ridiculous. Oh, bug. So how was everyone's day? Or anyone's day, if anyone feels like chatting. I'll turn the music down a little bit too. Nah. Alright. Let's get a page up and we'll do some Googling. Some YouTubing. Bow. Here, I could pause the music while we're in a lull. Kitty, chill. Just chill, dude. Come on, man. Work with me here, kitty. You're just gonna... There. Can you guys see this? Oh, the computer's in the way. Oh, there we go. Dude just lays down right on all my shit. Okay, now you get up. Well, what's your deal? Chill out. Why you so animated today, man? Supposed to be a cat. Just chill. Just chill, kitty. God, you almost made me click my screen off. I moved my webcam, I think I did. I did, didn't I? Oh, you kitty. You're something else. But what do I do with it? Okay, I had this up. There we go. What are you eating? Don't chew on plastic. Stop it, man. Just stop it. That's key in the Michael Jordan. Just stop. Kitty, sit. Just sit. Just sit. Oh my god, he won't. Just stay. Dude, you're making this really uncomfortable and annoying. Just sit. Holy Christians. Alright. Okay. You okay? Alright, here we go. What is this? I don't want to watch that. Maybe if Destiny has a video about it, probably not yet. What should we look for? What does he have to say about the Russian ammo ban?
YouTube mother lovers, If you've been living under a rock, about a week ago, the AK community got some interesting news.
Defying interest.
Oh God, we're all gonna die?
Yes, in a timely response to something that happened a year ago, the Biden administration has announced sanctions against Russia, most notably banning the importation of Russian-made ammo. No big deal, really, because this is just all I fucking shoot. About a day after the news dropped, we did a gun meme review where in the first half we kind of covered, we touched on the ammo ban, but I really wanted to do a dedicated video talking about what this actually means for shooters in America in general and just AK guys specifically. I don't want to say that there's a lot of misinformation going around, but there's a lot of stuff that is conjecture at best. And believe it or not, I actually did some reading on this. Yes, as it turns out, I can read. Ish. So I delved into the sanctions themselves and into some firearm industry data, and there's some kind of interesting stuff that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. First, we're going to start out with the bad news, and then we're going to move into the good news, if there could be good news. So yeah, I'm not about to piss down your back and tell you it's raining, unless you're into that. No, still not going to do it. I'm not into that. Yes, while this is an overall negative thing, there are some details in here that I don't think are going to make this as bad as we were maybe fearing.
Don't give me hope.
So let's start off with the bad news. Ammo's fucked. Well, not completely. Like I said, we're going to get into that. But this is pretty significant. So let's delve into the numbers. These sanctions prevent us in the U.S. from getting Russian-made ammunition. No, you can't just ship it to another country, even though it came from Russia, and then send it to the States. That is still Russian-made ammunition. Nobody's gonna lose their importer license trying to pull some War Dogs 2 type shit.
Never know.
Probably. But why is Russian-made ammunition being banned?
I do not doubt that. I imagine someone actually is gonna do that.
We imported
to be quite frank.
765 million rounds of ammo from
Russia. That's a lot. That's a lot of ammo, man.
765 million rounds out of the total 3.5 billion rounds of ammunition that we imported in 2020, meaning that Russia is the #1 supplier, the #1 country that we get imported ammo from. At 765 million, they single-handedly make up around 22% of imports, according to the stats. 20%. I'll leave some links and things in the description, by the way, if you guys want to read it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here.
So while this does mean that 762 is in a little bit of hot water, what this really impacts are the calibers that really aren't common outside of like the comm block arena. So you've got calibers like 9x18 Makarov, 5.45 x 39, the AK-74 caliber, 7.62x25 Tokarev, 7.62x54R. It almost single-handedly kills 9x39.
And a gun from the Eastern Bloc is now going to be kind of hard to get ammo for, it seems.
But it's not just a big deal for us weird comm block guys. I've touched on this a bit before, but it also affects guys who shoot AR-15s, 9mm,
5.56, yeah, because they make a lot of 5.56 there.
Of the El Cheapo steel case, 223, 9mm, all that stuff comes from Russia. So this is potentially driving up ammo prices across the board for everybody, not just the AK guys. Although
it doesn't even say.
It kind of seem like the State Department's putting RPP in a vice.
This is very
specifically on this
one.
But so yeah, that's been the prevailing opinion online. Shit's fucked. Which
cool. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Or is it? I do actually have a little bit of good news.
Or is it?
Potentially good news.
I can zoom in
really,
a
there's
bit
no way to know how this is going to play out, but there are some things that I think people are missing. I'm going to get into that in a second, but first, time to thank
a sponsor.
You know, the only reason I can afford expensive props like
of course
rounds of 7.62. Inner green, they won one day, tender's cleavage, and then were escorted face first to the sidewalk outside.
Wait, what?
A hard cutoff. At least not as hard of a cutoff as the one time you threw up on the pretty bar.
Oh, so he's just making a joke.
Escorted face first to the sidewalk outside.
Man, that sounds like a rough time, dude.
Wait, that was just me, wasn't it? But that aside, my point is actually in the verbiage of the sanctions themselves. So I'm going to read directly from the State Department sanctions, and then I'm going to cue in on the interesting part. Restrictions on the permanent imports of certain.
So he's going to share it anyways. Okay.
This has already been a thing for years, so I don't know why they're including this. New and pending permit applications for permanent importation of firearms and ammunition manufactured or located in Russia will be subject to a policy of denial. That's the interesting part.
So they're...
It is not banning.
Oh, so... Wait! This is weird. So they're gonna like have like approved vendors probably that they're gonna be the okay.
Ammo, at least not.
Okay.
It is saying that all pending and future applications to import ammo from Russia will be subject to a policy of denial, which means they'll just be denied. What this means is that there are already approved Form 6 import forms that could be tens of millions of rounds of Russian ammunition that have already been
as a sale,
are still coming into the country. Could be millions, could be tens of millions. I really don't know. So even though this goes into effect in a couple of days, we're still going to be getting trickles of Russian ammo in from already approved import forms. I'd also like to point out those can go like, I think 12 to 24 months into the future. Something along those lines. Which is really interesting because the sanctions themselves say that they are to be reevaluated in a year. Now, I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in that, just because, like, what is it that Milton Friedman said? There's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. Once we get restrictions like this,
what do you want, Katie?
Rare do they
you want out now?
However, they're the ones who put the limitation on their own sanctions, so we'll see what happens in a year. But that does mean that there is a possible timeline, and God, I hope we're living in it, that these sanctions get reversed before the last approved import forms are done with. So while ammo imports from Russia might slow down, they might never actually even
Gotta like the video, bro.
I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I don't think that that's going to happen. But it could, so that's at least worth talking about. Kind of anybody's game, unless
I kind of don't think it is.
Which I clearly cannot. Who knows?
I feel like it's a way that they can get certain vendors to do it.
To make the pain go away. People have already talked about throwing out their AKs, throw out your AK-74, just tossing all this shit because it's worthless now because you can't get the cheap ammo. That's horseshit. Again, I'm not going to tell you that ammo prices aren't going to go up because they already fucking have. Price of 7.62 and 5.45 pretty much doubled. Thankfully, they're kind of holding there. Never thought I'd say thankfully about 55 cent a round 7.62, but here we are. But it's reassuring to know that there are other countries that we import things like 7.62 from. 7.62, 9x18 Makarov, 7.62x54R. A lot of these comp-lot calibers are still manufactured all over Europe. Stuff like this I was talking about before, the Pelham ammo, the brass case 7.62 by
Romania and like
that Gucci shit.
Czechoslovakia maybe.
On their birthday. PPU, Fiocchi, all over. Like there's, I mean, we still get ammo from Serbia, from Hungary. Just all over the damn place. Czech Republic, Romania, Ukraine. There are a lot of places we still get these kind of Soviet ammo types from. I would like to think that they're going to be able to at least somewhat fill that hole in the market. Is going to be a hole for sure. Now, as you might imagine, manufacturing millions of rounds of ammunition is difficult, and it is expensive, and it takes a lot of tooling. So this is not something that's going to happen quickly.
You can just start it up overnight.
But it is something that I do hope is going to happen. And no, I'm not opening an ammo factory. Please stop asking. I don't trust myself to reload ammo for myself without blowing myself up. So, yeah, no, not happening.
One of my friends reloads his own ammo, and I'm like,
understand how much goes into the manufacturing of cartridges from scratch.
What?
Down to
I'm streaming. Don't open the door. Do not do that.
Getting primers, which are basically more fucking rare than ammo these days.
Don't show
yourself. A lot goes into it. If you were to start up from the ground, it takes several years, millions and millions of dollars, and I think people just kind of oversimplify
the frame up, like leaned it up against the wall, put the oven
yes,
kind of
that
in its
tangent
place,
aside, no, the AK is
and
not
took a bunch
dead.
of stuff outside.
We still have a lot of ammo here. We have a lot of ammo still on the way, and there are other countries that are hopefully going to pick up the torch and kind of pick up the slack for where Russia can no longer get us.
Yeah, it was getting pretty bad when I was down there. That's why I came home.
2x39, a couple of the other calibers that might be picking up the slack as well.
God, my father is such a good.
No shithead people arguing that these sanctions.
It's like walking around in his boxers, and I'm like, do not. Swear to God. Nobody needs to see that.
I'll just let you think about that one. There are people out there that believe that, and they vote. So while this is clearly a bayonet jab from the Biden admin to American gun owners, hopefully the unintended consequence is more American domestic ammo production.
Yeah, that's kind of all I see from this is you're going to be forced to make your own ammo now. Or like companies are going to make it here.
But anyhow, guys, That's about all I've got for this video. I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper into this, kind of tell you guys what's going on, and hopefully this has been educational for you. I try not to get too serious.
Educational.
I think it's important to know what's going on. So hopefully I helped you guys out with that, and I guess I'll see you on
it was informative, I'd say. All right, now I've wanted to watch this since I saw this came out on stream, just to see my immediate reaction to it, because it seems like it's going to be a good one.
Inexplicably jumps to a higher platform.
What the?
And an election recount is triggered, all because of the same invisible phenomenon that permeates the universe.
Oh, really?
On May 18th, 2003, voters in Belgium went to the polls. In many regions, voting was done on a computer, something the Belgians had been experimenting with for over a decade. But the system had a backup. Each voter would insert a magnetic card into the machine
there it is,
and make their selection on screen.
For some reason.
Their vote was saved both
Kitty.
to the computer and the magnetic card, which they dropped into a box for redundancy.
Oh, that's cool.
Late that night, as the votes
then
were
I
being
bet they got
tabulated,
wiped.
one of the election
There's
officials
probably like
detected
solar
a
flare or
problem with the
something.
results from Schaerbeek, a municipality in central Brussels. Maria
Shut up,
Vindevogel,
Kitty.
a little-known candidate with her own party, received more votes than was mathematically possible. They knew this because of the way the preferential voting system works. So they took out the magnetic cards and started a recount.
Oh boy.
One by one, they fed each of them through the machines again. And after several hours, the recount was complete.
Gotta pay attention.
The vote totals for every candidate were exactly the same as before, except for Maria Vindevogel. In her case, the recounted number of votes was less than the original by 4,096. So what went wrong? How had her original tally been inflated by over 4,000 votes? Computer experts were brought in to run extensive tests on the software. They combed through the code but could find no bugs. They got the computer that had made the initial erroneous tally and tested the hardware again and again, but they could not replicate the error. Everything about the hardware seemed to be in perfect working order. And this left only one possible explanation, and it is seriously weird. The clue comes from the excess number of votes Vindevogel received. 4,096.
Okay.
Computers work using binary, strings of zeros and ones, each corresponding to a power of 2. So somewhere inside the computer tabulating all the votes was a string of bits representing the number of votes Maria received. It started the day all zeros, and then as each vote for her came in, it would increment by 1. Physically, this is done by turning on a transistor for 1 and turning it off for 0.
Okay.
What's remarkable about the number 4096 is that it is exactly a power of 2, 2 to the power of 12. That is the 13th bit. So for Maria Vindevogel to receive an extra 4,096 votes,
would just be one thing had to happen. Yeah.
The 13th bit had to flip from a 0 to a 1.
Wow.
But why would that happen? Computers work precisely because bits don't flip unless we want them to.
Right?
Or do
No.
they?
This is magnetically done.
Looking into the problem, Belgian investigators found reports of similar issues from big computer companies starting in the 1970s.
Nowadays, I don't know though.
In 1978, Intel reported some strange errors popping up in their 16 kilobit dynamic random access memory, or DRAM. Ones would spontaneously flip to zeros with no apparent cause. The problem turned out to be the ceramic packaging the chip was encased in. With the demand for semiconductor packaging skyrocketing in the 1970s, a new manufacturing plant was constructed on the Green River in Colorado. Unfortunately, this site happened to be just downstream of an old uranium mill. Radioactive atoms made their way into the river and then into the ceramic packaging for Intel's microchips. Intel scientists investigating the problem found that even trace amounts of uranium and thorium in the ceramic were sufficient to cause problems. In their DRAM, memory was stored as the presence or absence of electrons in a semiconductor well. The alpha particles emitted by uranium and thorium were energetic and ionizing enough to create electron-hole pairs in the silicon. If an alpha particle struck in just the right place, it could create a large number of free charge carriers, causing electrons to accumulate in the well, flipping a 1 to a 0. This is known as a single event upset.
All right, this is pretty wild, but it could just be like dumbed down to someone clicked that switch.
A type of soft error.
Right.
The error is
I
soft
think, right?
because the device hasn't been damaged. The bit has changed, but you could erase it and rewrite it.
It seems like the easier solution.
Investigators exposed the chips to alpha emitters with different levels of activity, and just as you'd expect, they found the number of bit flips directly correlated with the number of alpha particles the chip had been exposed to. The reason this problem was identified in the 1970s was because chip components had been miniaturized to the point where a single alpha particle could produce enough charge to flip a bit. Immediately, these findings attracted a lot of attention. Before the paper was published, it was widely circulated in the industry, and as a result, chip manufacturers were a lot more careful to avoid radioactive materials when producing their microchips and packaging. Therefore, the bit flip that gave Maria Vindevogel 4,096 extra votes wasn't caused by natural radioactivity in the computer. So where did it come from? After Henri Becquerel discovered radioactivity with uranium in 1896, scientists sought a way to measure it. How radioactive were different materials? And one way to do this is with a gold leaf electrometer. When it's charged, the leaf is repelled, and you can measure the amount of charge by the angle of the leaf. Now,
Yo, that's pretty fucking lit. Did he invent it? Is that what he said?
do this is with a gold leaf electrometer. When it's charged, the leaf is repelled, and you can measure the amount of charge by the angle of the leaf. Now, if ionizing radiation enters the chamber, it rips electrons off air molecules, creating positive and negative charges.
Causing it to reduce.
Opposite charges are attracted to the leaf, discharging it over time. The higher the level of ionizing radiation, the faster the device discharges. In 1910, Theodore Wolff took his electrometer to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Since radioactivity was found in the soil and rocks of Earth, he expected that 300 meters up, the radiation would be just a few percent of the ground radiation. Instead, he found only a slight decrease. In 1911, Austrian physicist Victor Hess decided to take this experiment further. Literally. He loaded electroscopes into the basket of a hydrogen balloon. In his first two flights, he observed
Taking
the same
science
thing as
to the
Wolff.
next level,
Up
bro.
to an altitude of 1,100
A
meters,
wicked level.
both trips revealed no fundamental change in radiation compared to the values observed on the ground.
Huh.
But the next year, he conducted 7 balloon flights, up to an altitude of 5,200 meters.
Watch, he's gonna get real high, and then it's gonna get a lot more radiation,
Here,
I bet.
he discovered something remarkable. While there was an initial drop in radiation for the first several hundred meters, above 1 kilometer or so, the level increased with increasing altitude. At
Fucking
his
knew it.
maximum height, the
It's
level
the
of
ozone, bro.
radiation
Or wait,
was
right? Isn't
several
it? I think
times
I don't know what
greater
it is.
than it was on
There's
the
like
ground.
it's the
The
magnetic
radiation appeared to be coming not from the Earth.
radiation
but from
magnetic
the sky.
thingy. Oh, I forgot what the fuck it's called.
Hess scheduled one of his balloon flights during a solar eclipse.
I'm too
And
stupid
as
to
the
know
moon
this.
passed in front of the sun, he carefully watched his instruments. But the readings were unaffected. Even with the sun half covered, the level of radiation was the same. Since no influence of the eclipse
Electromagnetic
on the penetrating
radiation
radiation was
from
noted, we conclude that
something.
even if a part of the radiation should be of cosmic origin, it hardly emanates from the sun.
It's just
Victor Hess
cosmic
had discovered
rays.
cosmic rays,
Yeah.
high
Okay.
energy radiation from space. But what were these rays exactly, and where were they coming from? Well, today we know they aren't electromagnetic rays, as many suspected, but particles.
Okay, so I'm
Around
dumb.
90% are protons, 9% are helium nuclei, and 1% are heavier nuclei. Some of them
What's that
are
1%,
from the
the
sun,
heavier
but they
ones?
have comparatively low energy. High energy cosmic rays, moving very close to the speed of light, come from exploding stars,
Yeah.
supernovae, in our own galaxy and in others.
Oh, I said solar
And the
flare, so that's
highest
probably the
energy particles are
smaller
thought
ones.
to come from black holes, including the supermassive black holes at the centers of galaxies. But it's hard to pin down exactly where cosmic rays come from because
hell are you
as
supposed to
charged
take this
particles,
in?
they're deflected by magnetic fields in space.
Yeah.
So they can wind their way through
background-
the universe
background,
for billions of years. A
Radiation.
cosmic ray detected on October 15th,
So it used to be called or
1991,
something.
had an energy of 51 joules. That is a single subatomic particle with the energy of a baseball going 100 kilometers per hour. For obvious reasons, it was dubbed the OMG particle. But primary cosmic rays like these don't make it down to Earth's surface. Instead, they collide with air molecules around 25 kilometers above the ground and create new particles, like pions. These collide and decay into other particles, like neutrons, protons, muons, electrons, positrons, and photons. Which
I didn't know
collide with other
muons and pions. I feel like I might have heard of them, but I didn't know what they were.
So from a single primary cosmic ray comes a shower of particles streaming towards the Earth. It is one of these particles that investigators suspect struck a transistor in a computer in Belgium, flipping the 13th bit from a 0 to a 1 and giving Maria Vindevogel 4,096 extra votes.
Well, ain't that convenient?
But how often do things like this happen? In 1911, Charles Wilson made it possible to see the cosmic rays all around us when he perfected his cloud chamber, an enclosure with supersaturated water or alcohol vapor. When a cosmic ray passes through the chamber, it ionizes the gas, causing vapor to condense into tiny droplets on the ions, revealing the path of the particle. Alpha particles, helium nuclei, leave short, thick tracks, while beta particles, electrons, leave long, skinny trails. In 1932, Carl Anderson identified a trail that looked like it was made by an electron, but in the applied magnetic field, it curved in the wrong direction, implying it had a positive charge. Anderson had found the anti-electron, or positron. It was the first confirmed sighting of antimatter. 4 years later, also using a cloud chamber, he discovered the muon, again in cosmic rays. For his discovery of the positron, Anderson was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1936. He shared the prize with Victor Hess, the man who discovered cosmic rays in the first place. Invisible particles that affect our lives in ways most of us
That's
are
cool
oblivious
that they
to.
shared it.
This is possibly the rarest thing to ever happen in a video game. In 2013, user Dota Teabag was speedrunning Super Mario 64 on the console. In the level Tick-Tock Clock, he suddenly upwarps onto a higher platform.
What the?
Did you get invisible
I've
walls?
seen that before.
Please say you got invisible.
No, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen, though.
The move shaves off a few seconds, and
I always thought it was
seems
just
a
like
newly
cheating
discovered
somehow.
glitch in the game that could give speedrunners an edge. User PanandCook12 put out a $1,000 bounty for anyone who could replicate the upwarp. But so far, after 6 years, no one has been able to. The best explanation anyone can come up with is that a cosmic ray caused the glitch. It's been shown that a single bit flip in the first byte of Mario's height coordinate could have caused the effect. On the main level, the byte was 11000101, but if you flip the last 1 to a 0, it changes his vertical position.
Oh.
And just by chance, this new height coincides with the higher
Yeah,
floor.
that would make sense.
PanandCook12 wrote a script to manually flip the bit at the right moment and was able to achieve the same
That's
upward.
exactly what it looked like.
This is a particularly visible bit flip, but the truth is, cosmic rays are triggering bit flips all the time.
But they just don't
there, transient there can alter
register,
the function
or
of
like they're
these
not
devices, and we call that
they're not like super important variables.
a single event functional interrupt. So an entire process can hang. So a blue screen of death
Come on, kitty.
that you get might actually have been a neutron or whatnot.
When people see the blue screen of death, could that be caused by a cosmic ray?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's sick.
These days, there are a number of
That's
ways
terrible.
computer chips are
That's
made
scary.
resilient in the face of bit flips, like error correction code or ECC memory. But you can't totally prevent bit flips from happening. In 1996, IBM estimated that for each 256 megabytes of RAM, 1 bit flip occurs per month. And the main culprit seems to be neutrons created in the shower of particles from cosmic rays. Starting in 2009, Toyota recalled millions of vehicles due to the problem of unintended acceleration.
We were in the fast lane driving at about 70.
I heard that this was because
the car was continuing to
the
accelerate,
thing was
and he
getting
couldn't bring it
stuck
to a
under
stop.
Many speculated that cosmic
The-
ray
the
induced
f-
bit
the
flips
foot-
in the electronic control system were the cause.
the foot
so much so that
in the footwell. What the hell is it called? The carpet. The carpet was getting stuck on top of the
NASA was called in to help with
Power.
the investigation.
Or
But it turns
gas.
out cosmic rays were probably not the culprit.
It was something so
NASA
much
identified
simpler.
as the main causes sticky accelerator pedals, poorly fitted floor mats, and most commonly, drivers pushing on the accelerator thinking it was the brake. But cosmic rays have caused crashes.
Oh my
of
god! I forgot how stupid people can be. Yeah, you gotta remember.
Computers, especially at higher elevations. Los Alamos National Labs, located 2,200 meters above sea level, is constantly dealing with neutron-induced supercomputer crashes. So the software autosaves frequently, and neutron detectors have been installed throughout the facility.
That's pretty sick.
If you go even higher, climbing up to cruising
it's cool that
altitude
they're
in
like
a plane, you
like
can see the
finding
radiation
defenses
from
for
cosmic
it.
rays increasing on a Geiger counter.
To 0.5 microsieverts per hour at 18,000 feet, up to 1 microsievert per hour at 23,000 feet, over 2 microsieverts per hour at 33,000 feet, and over 3 microsieverts
Oh
per
my
hour
God,
at even
you're
higher
gonna get
altitudes
cancer from
and
flying in
towards
a
the
plane.
poles.
At cruising altitude, this increases the chance of a single event upset by 10 to 30 times. This isn't critical if it happens in your laptop, but what if it occurs in the flight computer?
Oh, I'm sure they have things
On
built
October
around
7th,
that. They have to.
2008, an Airbus A330 took off from Singapore to Perth.
Maybe not. Humans
Just
are
over
dumb.
3 hours into the flight, the plane suddenly pitched down, diving 200 meters in 20 seconds.
Oh wait,
Inside
this
the
was one of
plane,
the new ones,
everyone
right?
experienced negative 0.8 Gs of acceleration.
This was the.
It
I
would have
think this
felt
was
like
from.
the plane had flipped over.
Wait a second. Hold up. Crash. Was it the new Boeings? I think it was, wasn't it? Is this the one he's talking about? 2008. Maybe
It would
no,
have
because
felt
this is
like
way
the
older than
plane
the
had
one I
flipped
thought.
over.
So never mind.
The G-force was enough, even with our 3-point harness, to lift us both out of the seat and push us forward as well.
It's kind of scary.
Minutes later, the plane dropped another 120 meters. 119 people on board were injured, many from
gonna
bumping
pull this
their
up on the other
heads
one.
into the ceiling. So the pilots decided to make an emergency landing in Learmonth. In the investigation that followed, the fault seemed to occur with the first Air Data Inertial Reference Unit, or ADIRU for short. This computer supplies critical data like airspeed, angle of attack, and altitude. The way it supplies each of these pieces of information is in a 32-bit binary word. The first 8 bits identify the type of information, and bits 11 to 29 encode the actual data. What seems to have happened is that a bit flip in the first 8 bits meant altitude information was mislabeled as angle of attack information. Inside
That's so scary how just one bit flip can completely like rock your whole world, literally.
the cockpit,
The
alarms
entire
went on for overspeed and
plane
stall
goes
simultaneously,
apeshit.
something
And-
that should be impossible.
And then it's autopilot. It's now like, what the hell? We're at the wrong elevation, guys.
But the plane nosed down sharply to correct what it thought was a stall, throwing passengers and crew into the ceiling.
Okay. So never mind.
Investigators looked into software
thought that
bugs,
the power was
software
out.
corruption, a hardware fail,
Entirely.
physical environment factors, and electromagnetic interference. But each of these possibilities was found to be unlikely based on
This is the one that I was thinking of. 2019. Apparently, an electrical power system of the aircraft were not working correctly, which is, from what I understood, and the few like people I've watched videos on that are somewhat, involved in the industry were like, yeah, they were new autopilot systems, and they weren't. I guess they weren't calibrated correctly or something. I don't know. It seemed like it was manufacturer fault. at least from what they were saying. But they could work for another company that's competing with them. So who knows?
Multiple sources of evidence. The other potential triggering event was a single event effect resulting from a high-energy atmospheric particle striking one of the integrated circuits within the CPU module. One of the challenges with single event upsets is that they are soft errors. They don't leave a trace. But interestingly, the error...
Yeah, because it's not like it's in the code. It's like physically you're flipping a switch.
Airbus A330 was built in 1992.
Yeah, physically,
when there
right?
were no
I guess it's
specific
considered
regulatory or aircraft manufacturer requirements for airborne systems to be resilient to single event effects. With the space shuttle, redundancy was built in from the start.
Yeah, that's
For
what I would
navigation
think.
and control, there were 4 computers simultaneously running identical software. If one computer had a soft error,
It would recognize
the
it
other
probably,
3 would
yeah.
overrule it. And using this setup, they could also track the frequency of bit flips. On one 5-day mission, STS-48, there were 161 separate bit flips.
That's pretty sick that they could
Above the atmosphere,
record
cosmic rays
that
are
then.
so energetic, sometimes you can even see them.
Once in a while, you have your eyes closed and you're not asleep.
Oh, this is that dude.
And
Yeah, he's
if you wait a
cool.
little while, you occasionally will see a
He's into UFOs, boys.
flash of light. And we think it is heavy particles or individual bursts of energy coming from radiation that are either going through the eyeball itself or going through the optic nerve. And the way that your body registers radiation going through it is amazingly enough by showing you a little flash in one of your eyes, just to remind you that you are subject to the radiation of not only our sun, but every star of the universe that is radiating at you.
Nah, dude, I'm not. Nah.
I picture back to the first astronauts.
You gotta have me on
closed their eyes and seen
some
that
mushrooms or
radiation
something
and
to
gone,
believe that.
I'm not going to tell anybody about this because no one's told me about it. I'm not talking. And I can just imagine the first 2 guys that said, "Hey, sometimes I see flashes of light. Do you see flashes of light?" And then it's, "Oh, we all see flashes of light." Oh, okay. Well, that's all right then.
For
That would
missions
drive
to
me
other
insane.
planets, protecting electronics
That's kind of
is
scary
critical.
too.
If a single bit of information controls a critical function on your spacecraft, let's say your thrusters, and that goes from a 1 to a 0, from a on to off, or vice versa, you could lose the mission.
That's why the computer on the Perseverance rover that just landed on Mars is 20 years old. It's a PowerPC launched in 2001 with only 256 megabytes of RAM and 2 gigabytes of flash storage. But
Can it run Crisis?
it is radiation hardened, meaning the design, materials, circuits,
sorry.
and software
I
are
love
built
it,
to
though.
withstand 40 times the radiation of an ordinary computer. It's been used on over a dozen space
Wicked.
missions going back to 2005.
In fact, when we first started doing the PowerPC testing years ago, the way we did it, we just simply stuck an operating system processor in a beamline where we generate.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I'd think like they would put it in a microwave or some shit on some real ghetto ass testing. They just take it and put it in the microwave and like see how long it lasts.
These particles on the planet and look for blue screen to death. You can kind of figure out what's going wrong and try to undo that so you don't get to the blue screen of death, because a spacecraft that gets into that mode is basically unrecoverable.
As the Voyager 1 spacecraft departed the solar
Yeah,
system, one of the ways we could tell was by an increase in the flux of cosmic rays it experienced. Although on Earth the particles streaming from the sun and the solar wind are a source of radiation, further out, these same particles maintain a protective bubble, the heliosphere. It helps deflect and slow cosmic rays from interstellar space, protecting the solar system from ionizing radiation.
Has something to do with our gravity?
But the sun has an 11-year activity cycle.
Wait,
so
did he say what it was?
departed the source of radiation. Further out, these same particles maintain a protective bubble, the heliosphere.
It's the breaking down of those.
The flux of cosmic rays on Earth is much lower when the sun is active
not coming from the Earth.
Whoa. In the history of our planet, cosmic rays may have played an even larger role, flipping bits not in electronics, but in the genetic codes of living organisms, providing some of the variation on which natural selection acts. Maria Vindevogel is now
beautiful.
a member of the Belgian Chamber of Representatives, elected by people, not a particle. But her story is a reminder of the zillions of particles winding their way through the universe,
Or
for
the U.S.
millions
government.
or billions
You know what
of
I'm saying,
years,
brothers?
one of which might, at any moment,
Oh my
change
God.
your life
I'm kidding.
by passing through a tiny transistor and crack.
Haha, you're funny, dude. Funny, bro. Ha 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 ha.
Discovering the origin of cosmic rays, or where 4,096 extra votes came from, or how to protect the Mars rover from radiation requires problem solving, which is a perishable skill. And the best way to keep your problem solving skills sharp is...
Thank you for letting me know about Skillshare. Use code Veritasium if you're interested. I believe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm just... Can't do it, man. Can't do it. What was that shit that was popping off earlier today? Damn, I can't remember. Some sort of news thing. Yeah, there. Oh, yeah, okay. The hell does he say? Biden? Biden! That's it. The war. That's it. The war in Afghanistan is now over. Cool. Okay, never mind. I don't care anymore. That's wonderful. He said that. Whoa! Kiss tested positive for COVID, dude. Oh no. What is this? Yo, what's popping off there? Oh. What is going on here? We're missing so much context. Yeah, I'm like that dude. I'm like, yo, I ain't doing nothing, dog. Don't hurt me. I just keep filing in, dude. 1 and 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Oh shit. Oh shit. What happened, dude? What happened? Dude. Come on, dude. But dude. Okay, so there's a roadblock. Oh, whoa. Damn. So protesters were putting up a roadblock. And they go ham on them now. Alright, where's the other? They have the next one? Yeah. Oh man, thank you, Independent.
Stop doing cardio. This
really? You're gonna? Oh, you can. I was gonna say you better not give me a 5-minute ad, dude.
Sometimes you need to block the highway to get people to wake up, can't you? We don't need to ask permission when we need to take to the streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose street? Our streets. Whose future? Our future. Whose future? Our future. Extinction! Rebellion! Extinction! Rebellion!
Rebellion? Extinction Rebellion.
I love getting my little escorts. Look at my backup dancers. They're so cute, aren't they? Say thank you, backup dancers. Thank you.
Beyond fucked.
We are beyond man. We need to change this world now. We champions. Now, we need to
Alright,
tell the
those are
heat
some,
now.
those are some funny shirt things. Okay. Alright. So, they stormed a building? They keep popping off, dude.
ITV News.
Wait. So what? They just walked in? They walked in. They stormed the building. They totally stormed it, dude. Got him, dude. I don't know. It didn't seem like they broke anything. It just seemed like they walked in and populated it, which is half of what protesting is.
Pizza or salad?
Dude.
Which one do you think I'm having for dinner tonight?
Dude, I bet it's not the pizza. This sounds like a jam. Seemed like they were like, just having a good time. All right, I don't know. I don't really approve of blocking the roads like that, but then how else would you get attention? Protect the Amazon. What is this protest about? I'm confused. What are we protesting again? Hey guys. What is this about? Okay. PL 490. PL 490. Death of what does it say? Bill of death. Oh, maybe I'm not gonna do that. Never mind. I thought that had something to do with it. Oh, so this is okay. Threatens indigenous rights, and they're protesting in London. Okay. Got it. Interesting. I feel like there's things in London they could protest, but you do you, boo-boo. I mean, they didn't do anything wrong either, though. That's what's weird. Like, they just did, at least from what I saw. Oh, wow, they sent a... That's funny. I guess that's a nice laugh thing. Wow. I don't want to read that. Oh. Oh, General Mark Billy, dog, he out. Rest in peace, post him out. Yep. There it is, PA. Mask mandate, K through 12. Boy, when I heard that this morning, I was just like, oh, well, we're gonna have some people upset. That's for sure. That is for sure. What is this guy talking about?
Face the wall.
Oh yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just like
What I like to say to people.
Australian Services
talking
Triangle.
about UBI, but it applies here too. How many people do you guys know play guitar?
A handful.
That's cool. Thank you for your analogy. Dun, dun, dun. Some spooky spook. Nah. Oh, oh my God. They got a whole thing on COVID news, dude. We get it, man. We get it, dude. Why? Oh, this looks like a feel-good story, even though it's vice.
Get ready! It's a red flash. It's like this. So you don't actually hear about him, you just see him around. Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
Usually a cape waving around. He's always got sunglasses
No, it's
on.
Super
He's got
Dude.
Football tucked in.
It's kind of like he's flying while running, you know?
This dude's crazy.
He's truly a prophet. He's like a staple of the city, you know what I mean? This is no time to be lukewarm.
A few years back.
It's been a little while since I've seen him.
Disappointing when he said he wasn't going to be doing it as often.
Like, if you don't know who this man is, then you aren't actually from Kansas City.
I am from Kansas City, so I don't know. Let's learn about him. He seems cool. Like the hat, dude.
This is I call it traveling wall, places I've been and people I've met.
It's beautiful.
My name is Michael Wheeler.
No cap.
You probably know me through KC Superman. That's what most people know me around the nation.
Well, so many people are familiar with the KC Superman.
He runs everywhere from the plaza to downtown to the Kansas Speedway.
Well, he's just a superhero marathon in Hollywood, California. That was about 7 years ago when I first ran it. I finished 134 marathons. 4 years old, I can remember running around the house. I said, Mom, I want to be a fast runner. She said, son, you could be anything you want to be, but you put the Lord first. I feel His presence when I run. I feel the Spirit, like divine protection, like the angels.
Religious people got so much going for them because they got like, it's like they got someone on their side.
That positive energy to people, and
Maybe that makes maybe I should just be religious. Turn religious, find something. I mean, I kind of am, but like, I don't pick one, dude. I like them all.
They're following a guy
Well,
who's dressed like
love
Superman.
and hate. Love-hate relationship with that shit. I mean, you know.
You're at a baseball
double-edged
game
sword.
with 44,000 people, and he's there. You were at a Super Bowl parade with like 700,000, he's there. You're on the streets during a protest, and he's there.
My message is community, don't give up, because things are changing. The world is watching. People have different opinions, about police chief and the mayor. Well, my goal is to bring people together, We got to bring all this crime down, because it's really breaks my heart. I'm a miracle not still being here, 'cause I've been stabbed, shot, beat up. Like in Ferguson, the ride, I felt led to go there, and just my presence being there, and just to put smiles on people. Then I realized that was my calling.
Yeah.
During the Black Lives Matter, Mr. Wheeler's running through the crowd, and everyone's high-fiving, like the police are all high-fiving him, and it's like there was a divide there, but then when Mr.
It's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like he'd almost be like a moderator.
Mr. Wheeler comes through, he brings everyone together.
Literally every Kansas Cityan and every suburbanite nearby and everybody in the region has some story with him.
I actually saw him here last Sunday night.
I'd like to hear some Cott's opinions on him.
Kind of like technically retired from doing it.
The Kansas City icon says he's retiring this year.
People know him as KC Superman. He says Valentine's Day will be his final appearance. He's putting his cape away.
Pass it on to the next generation, boys.
And we go in a little booth in there, and take you inside and show you the booth. Come. Hey, you home?
Someone else out in KC. Gotta pick up the cape, dude.
3D HQ, and
Oh, that's so
we're a
cool.
full-service 3D technology company. And Mr. Wheeler was retiring his KC Superman cape, which is a big deal. So we wanted to get him with the cape on one last time. So follow me over here to literally an entire case that we have dedicated to Mr. Wheeler and the legend that is KC Superman.
That's pretty
I
cool.
remember going out to, we had this little pocket in town called Westport. And I would see Mr. Wheeler out there on like a Friday night when everybody's walking around drinking. Mr. Wheeler's out there just spreading positive energy, praying for the city. And at first I was like, man, this guy's crazy. Like, what is he doing out at 1 a.m. with a bunch of college kids? And over the years, I came to fully understand his message. It wasn't crazy. It was something very beautiful in terms of just being a positive inspiration to the city.
Your own Jesus.
I grew up in the church with my dad being a pastor, and out of 5 uncles, 4 of them was pastors. That's all I seen is church and stuff. I started street preaching in the 80s.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Like how being discriminated against, like in the plaza area, I couldn't go there because of skin color when I was a little bit boy. I've been arrested 75 times. The police show up. either you leave or you stay in your ground. I stay my ground. So if I'm guilty, here's my hand. So I go to jail.
3 people murdered last night. How much is enough is enough?
I got stabbed myself. I went outside to talk to the man. He stabbed me in my side. Then he stabbed me again in my back. And 3 doctors came to my bedside. I said, young man, we don't understand. You couldn't find not even one internal organ puncture. I said, you know, Lord worked a miracle. All these negativities.
Like, I was all hook, line, and sinker on this until he's like street preaching. I don't know, that gets kind of annoying. Like, but that does not give anybody right to do that shit to him. Like, holy shit.
I could stay bitter, but I chose to be better.
My fellow Americans, this is no time for showtime.
I grew up watching Superman on TV. So
yeah, but they didn't have all of his sermon, so you don't know really what he said there.
People were
So
more open when they seen the man with the cape. Everybody can almost identify with the Superman, you know, and superheroes. They kind of draw them on in. They see a cape waving in the air, and you see the man with the white beard. It kind of, what it's all about. Becoming Superman help people understand me even more. And just up there preaching, but the cape is like, it's almost like a message in motion.
okay, cool.
It's like
Yep.
something is shifted. They say, oh, okay, we understand now, you know. Are we going to see the KC Superman mural on the corner here? There it is right there.
There's a lot of pressure to do something cool that the community would like, and we were just like weighing the options. What should we do? And then Michael Wheeler ran by when I was kind of stressing out, and I was like, that's who we're gonna paint.
The media was all over the.
I mean, he's a character for sure.
Mural, and one of the news stations asked me how did I feel. I said, well, like I'm getting my flowers now, so I can smell them.
I think that what he means by that is he's finally starting to be appreciated, and he felt like everyone would appreciate him after he was gone, which like was really heavy just because the mural and all this other publicity and attention that he's gotten has like made him feel, I guess, accomplished in his goal of spreading positivity.
The mural really touched me because right at location.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I got it. I want to see this here.
Yes, please. Yes.
Bro, this shit is so funny.
Okay, go.
So Fortnite basically does these like virtual events.
You know what Fortnite is, Al?
Yeah, that I do. Like, he's trying so hard to be young. So I'm like,
I don't even play
he's
Fortnite.
trying so hard.
You're trying to be young, bro.
He trying
Bro, you have a Fortnite
fuck.
character tattooed on your arm. Like legit.
Wait, you have a Fortnite character?
Does he really?
Yes, he does. He's got MLK on his arm.
He's trying to
He just broke it.
Bro, there's some Mexicans died laughing right now. I'm telling you.
Go.
All right, all right, yo, Shifty's in the mix. Let's go, Shift Dog.
Nah, you should stay. Just make sure he's fucking accurate at all his bullshit.
Be here to laugh at these references and don't knock over that fucking
he
camera.
just Wikipedia this shit before
Right,
he
go.
came in. Go.
Go.
All right, so basically Fortnite does these virtual events, right? Where they
Yeah.
have like a
Is that
Travis
the video
Scott
game
concert.
where you gotta like build scaffoldings?
Yes.
I mean, actually,
Scaffoldings.
you're thinking of Minecraft, but
No, he's thinking of Fortnite.
Scaffoldings, and then you
You
like
do.
do a lot of jumping and shit.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it right. He's on it.
No, SimCities you build like actual like cities and shit like that.
Or roll, son. You don't know
Shut the
how
fuck
you
up.
build
Get to the
scaffolding.
goddamn fucking point. You build scaffolding, yeah.
You had so many systems.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Dances in Fortnite too.
Yeah, you can for sure.
Build scaffoldings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
you,
go.
you steal
Dance Revolution.
you steal dances
Yeah,
from black
straight,
kids
sure.
and then you do them in the
It's not
game.
stealing
Yeah.
shit.
Oh my god.
Play Fortnite, bro.
Yeah.
TikTok.
This is TikTok.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Go.
So
I'm on
TikTok,
board.
the video
There we
game,
go.
and basically they do these virtual
TikTok,
events
the
where you
video
don't really
game.
like play on the map, but you can go and watch the event virtually.
Yeah.
They have like a concert.
Travis
Yeah.
Scott did a concert,
Yep.
and then
Old dork ass.
See, he knows.
And
Andrew's trying to like hide, like he
and the most
doesn't
recent
know
one
this
they did is
shit.
They did a virtual playing of Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
Wait,
That would go wrong.
In
did they
Fortnite.
really?
That's lit. So all these kids that don't even know what the fuck
Oh my
the
god.
"I Have a Dream" speech is.
They're
they
from
don't know who
they're
the
from
fuck
Portugal.
Abraham
They're not even
Lincoln
from
is.
America. They don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, it's a global game. Okay, so
Yeah.
they just pulled up.
And so the funniest part of the whole shit, so obviously like kids are just like doing dances and shit like in front of the memorial, like he's talking and this kid's just fucking
Oh
busting it
my
out.
god, are
And
they
then
for
the best
real?
part is that they
That
took
is
off.
his dream, though, in a way, is white kids dancing
and
with black kids.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
that's a good point. Doing
Let's
black
go.
dances, coming
Yeah.
together.
Holy shit.
All right.
But then on top of that, like
Dude,
first off,
what?
MLK was like a known pacifist. Like he was a non-violence advocate. He hated the war in Vietnam, and he was a socialist.
and then literally Fortnite is a capitalist violence
I
game.
want to ask my friend about this.
So I'm like, I don't know if this is necessarily.
But it's not real violence.
It's a video game. It's violent. You're killing people with guns.
It's a video game. No, but it's not real violence.
So I wish that was actually a setting where you got to dress up as FBI in the game.
That'd be sick.
And then if you shot him, okay, at least it would be accurate. You know what I mean?
Chill out, bro.
What?
Chill
I'm saying he was
out,
assassinated by the FBI. Is that not true?
No.
Who? CIA. Excuse me.
Damn, you old motherfucker. Bro,
I told you, Wikipedia
no.
it and it's facts are wrong. I don't even know if he was assassinated by the CIA. I think they just let him die. I think that was the issue.
You don't think CIA killed him?
Who?
I'm pretty sure they did.
No, I think he was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald.
I don't know, dude.
James Earl Ray. I actually know that one.
Who is he killed by?
James Earl Ray, yeah.
The motherfucker that played Star
Darth
Wars.
Vader, dog. Darth Vader.
Star Wars.
Oh shit, my bad.
What the hell?
Damn, you almost treated him like MLK, bro. Jeez.
I shot you like the CIA.
Oh my god. I can't believe this.
Yup. That's what you get, motherfucker. At least I hit this, so I didn't damage you. Yo, son, this is where my face is. I moved it up. I did it on purpose. I literally moved it up. My aim is nice with it. You see, my aim is If I didn't move the mic, that shit would have hit me right in my
what is
face.
going on?
Crazy,
He destroyed
bro.
it.
Crazy, son. An eye for an eye, son. Destroys shit. It's for this. I shot you like the CIA.
He destroyed it. You fuck.
Yup. That's what you get, motherfucker. At least I hit this, so I didn't damage you. Yo, son, this is where my face is. It's crazy, bro. I'm just so virtual Fortnite.
Yeah, what event you want historically?
I would like to be at the play where Abraham Lincoln was assassinated.
Oh, that'd be a fire one.
That'd be.
He was named one of Comedy Central's.
Louisiana. Yeah, see. Whenever I do that,
I like this dude. He's
some
funny.
people will woo, but that's for New Orleans, which is the best part. Like, New Orleans to Louisiana is like if you had the most beautiful blue eye, but your whole face was fucked up. Like, that's what it's like being from that state.
Yeah.
But I did.
For
I grew up
Louisianians.
in Louisiana, and when I was 13 or 14, my family got the first like home computer. Like, still, like, it had a whole city behind it with a big monitor, but like it was a computer. And my mom was really excited because it meant now I could do my homework at home and I wouldn't have to stay at the library for hours. And I was excited for different reasons.
Wicked, dude. You know what? You know what he is excited for.
Right. And like, I don't know if I'd scream it, but I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I had a couple. I had like the bunch, you know, like
The boys.
type 5, but like not a lot of friends to do things after school with or anything. I wasn't particularly athletic, so after school I just had to go home. Like, if you're not gonna play a sport or you're not gonna like join a mathletes club, you have to go home. We can't just have you sitting here with the other kids that are doing things.
Why not?
And so
I used to do that.
So I went home, and I was also a point in my life where I was being left alone at home for the first time. So I was 14, and my mom's like, "Look, if you die while I'm not here, you were never gonna make it. So like, you need to start fending for yourself. You should know how to use an oven, you know." And so I would get home, and I'd beat my mom home by like 1 or 2 hours, you know. So I was just me at home alone with the computer by myself for like 1 or 2 hours. And so I discovered
I'm sure you know where this is
Craigslist.
going. Oh wait, never mind.
And I was so fascinated, like the fact that you could look up all these like misconnections and like favors and like odd
Favors.
jobs and renting apartments. So I would just get home from school every day and just like read Craigslist. It's nonstop, just like
What the
every facet, like men seeking women, women seeking men, like every part of Craigslist. I was just like people selling their car, but like trying to give the backstory so they could use words to somehow overshadow the beat up car that they were trying to sell. It's like there's a lot of history behind it because you don't know this car was the car that like Snoop Dogg rode in the back in once, and he got really sick and threw up. That's why there's that stain there. It's like a Snoop Dogg stain that like no one would have got otherwise.
That's where
like
he dropped
you can only
his
get
joint,
Snoop Dogg stain in this
and
car.
It burnt a hole.
And so I would do it. I would just
jump up here,
read
kitty.
Craigslist every day after school. And I didn't tell anybody I was doing this, but I would be like really excited to get home. Like I just be like, oh man, where are we gonna have now? Cause like I'd even read the misconnection and be like, hey, look, I met you and we were at a club and you had like hair and stuff. And I remember you had one eyebrow, which is weird they didn't start with you had one eyebrow.
Yeah, that's like the call out right there.
You had the thing that most people have and one eyebrow. And we just had a great conversation. I couldn't really hear you, but like I could feel you. And so if you reading this right now, hit me up. And so naturally, when you're 13, 14, whatever, you're not a person yet. So you're kind of a monster. And it wasn't long before I came home reading Craigslist every day before I decided to get involved. And so I started just like starting these correspondence with people, you know, like on misconnections or what. I pretend to be the person that they had the conversation. So I was like, yeah, baby, I got one eyebrow and the other one coming in, you know? And I was doing it every day for like months. And then some people, I would give myself away by being too into it and they know it wasn't the person and they wouldn't respond. But other people, we get like a long correspondence for a while. And I remember one day I was, sitting at the computer, just really excited to get into it. It was just a Tuesday and I didn't have anything else to do. And this was a 2-hour
Sounds like
window
he's talking
day, not a
about
1-hour
porn too.
window. And so on this particular day, I was just scrolling through all of Craigslist and I saw that there was an ad. The ad just read, join the KKK.
Yo, let's see if we can find one of these ads right now.
Question mark.
I'm willing to bet we can, dude. Where should we check?
So naturally, I was like, dope.
Where did he say he was from? Louisiana.
So I started a
Which one
correspondence
sounds
with this dude
racist?
named
Central
Dale.
Louisiana. For me.
And like, I felt kind of bad because like, if you're hurting that bad in 2004 for recruitments that you need a Craigslist ad, then we must be making progress. Like, you know, the world's getting better. And so I talked to Dale a little bit, you know, just emailing back and forth. I was like, hey, what's up? I'm white.
Yeah, you don't have to start off with that.
Chill sometime and talk. And by chill, I don't mean the way black people use chill. I mean actually go somewhere cold and hang out
Someone's looking
together
for feet
as,
pics. Sick.
Friends. And to my
what's like
surprise, the
some
next
like
day,
dog
I
whistles
had an
for
email
it.
from Dale that was like, "Hey, great to meet you. You seem like a cool guy."
Nationalist.
And all of our correspondence for the
Nationalism.
first couple
Nah.
days was like the most
Not
basic,
even that.
just like
Patriot.
Oh man,
Patriot.
You like Star Wars too? So do I as well. Like I
Trump.
couldn't be
Could it be
natural
that
on the thing.
straightforward?
Like, I was
No.
so nervous
Of course
every
it
time
can't
I
be.
type. But then once we really got
That doesn't mean anything either, though.
rapport built up, he was like, we should meet. I want you to meet the
Yeah, no, you have to go to
brothers."
like, we have to go somewhere else.
I was like,
can't find them
that
on
sounds
Craigslist
great.
anymore.
And I grew up in Alexandria, Louisiana, which if you've never been there, don't know what it is, you're doing fine. So I guess you don't need to. But there's this place, there's this bar called Finnegan's. And I was like, hey, Dale, look, just meet me at Finnegan's and we'll sit down, we'll have a chat and everything. And then if you really like me, you can introduce me and the other brothers and we can all be a family. And so the next day comes and naturally I don't show up. I don't want to die. I was never going to.
Man.
That'd be insane. No. But he hits me up the next day after school, and I should point out that like for 2 weeks, I was running home mainly to talk to Dale. I wasn't even reading Craigslist anymore.
You just chat with Dale, having a good old time.
I had 6 friends, and Dale was one of my best ones.
Oh, I hope Dale finds out about this too and realizes it. And he's like, man,
home the other day
that dude was cool.
And he was
I missed that connection because I was racist.
You didn't come, man. Why would you stand me up like that? And I was like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. And so I came up with an excuse. And this is like, you know, we're talking 2004. We're talking before like everybody had a cell phone, you know. So it's like some people still, you know, didn't have a cell phone, and they made plans and they went out and they did them, you know.
Yeah. It doesn't happen anymore.
And so if there was a hiccup, you just had to roll with it because you couldn't just text someone like, hey, I'm totally not going to abide by the plan now. I've chosen a different plan. I'm letting you know now. So for a week, I just like kept getting Dale to eat and shop alone. Like... And each time I had a great excuse. Like each time I was like, oh, my mom fell, and like I just had to be there with her and everything. And every day he understood, and he was like, you know what, you did the right thing, brother. You know. And I remember one day especially, he was particularly upset because he had come home, emailed me that evening, but I didn't see it till the next day. And he was like, you never came to Target. I was in Target by myself for 3 hours. I bought a popcorn maker. I don't even need a popcorn maker. I was just in Target by myself and bored. And I was waiting on you. Now I got a popcorn maker in front of me. And what are you going to do about this popcorn maker? And I was like, bruh, I'm so sorry. And by bruh, I do mean shorthand for brother, not the way that black people use it. I'm so sorry. I just... you know, my girlfriend, she tripped. And it was always women falling. Like, I'm surprised that he never caught on. Every time it was like, oh, yeah, my great aunt just hit a stair. Or, like just the worst lies. Because a 14-year-old idiot. And even now, I'm like, wow, like, I was alone with a computer, and I just catfished the Klan. I can't think of anything dumber or more porn would have been better. Porn would have been normal. You thought you were about to hear a story about porn. And instead, it just took a wild turn. And then finally, you know, after, I think it was a week and a half, he was very resilient. They must be hurting for numbers. Because after a week and a half, he was finally like, okay, you know what? Ball's in my court now. I'm going to set a time, I'm going to set a place, and if you don't come, then don't ever talk to me again.
Oh, damn, Dale.
And I was like, fair enough, okay? You've been so patient with me. I really just want to be part of the brotherhood. Just let me know where I need to be. And then he picked Finnegan's again. There's not that many places to go in my town. And naturally, I didn't show up. I didn't hear from him again. And I've noticed this trend online that's kind of disheartening, where like now people are being called racist, but for like nothing. Like actually not. Like I'm petty, so I'll read the whole thread, and I finish the entire thread. I'm like, oh, that was it. I don't even think that's a thing. You know, like oh, you said this, you tweeted this one thing one time, you must be a racist, or like you voted this way, you must be a racist. You're a whole racist by a person who doesn't know you. And I'll tell you, as like a black dude that grew up in the South, I don't think you're racist until you go to your second Klan meeting, all right? Like, Because maybe the first one, maybe your buddy Dale's invited you to a barbecue, all right? Everybody loves barbecue, okay? You get there, there's delicious barbecue, there's dry rib, there's sloppy, it's all happening. You see somebody put on a white hood, you're like, I don't know, the costume barbecue, that's a little odd. But you just keep eating. There's corn on the cob, there's collard greens, there's brisket, there's pulled chicken, it's all delicious. And then there's a burning cross in front of you, and you're like, I'm already here.
Oh, shit. Oh my God, dude, that was...
I say this because it happened to my friend Jordan, okay?
Oh,
he
dude,
accidentally
poor
went to a
dude.
Klan rally because without
But the
knowing
food
what I
was
was
good, I
doing, my
bet.
buddy Jordan, who was about 3 years older than me, actually met Dale. And got invited to a barbecue. Turns out Klan rallies don't just start, they ease you in with a barbecue. And he was like, I know what to do, I ate all the food, I can't miss the meeting. So he stayed for the entire Klan rally.
Yeah,
and,
it's like
went
yeah,
home
that'd be like
immediately,
you'd be like a social
called me and
pariah
came over
if you
and
left.
talked about it. Turns out a Klan rally is exactly the thing a Klan rally is like. There were no spoilers. But just past his head in the kitchen, I could see a to-go plate. And I was like, Jordan, are those Klan ribs?
Can I try?
And he was like, yeah, and I was like, can I have some?
Exactly, I knew it, yeah. You have to, dude.
And it hurts me as a black dude that grew up in the South to say that the Klan makes the best ribs. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what kind of rub that is. Who would have known that you
Oh
can't
my
taste
God.
racism? It's delicious. Okay? It was to the point where I was like, I think you need to join. I need these every Sunday. These are amazing, guys. Guys, I'm Josh Johnson. Thanks so much.
Oh, that was great, dude.
Saudi Arabia. Oh no, I ain't saying nothing about
Shut
them.
your mouth. Nothing to say
I'm not
here.
even looking.
Next country.
Saudi Arabia. Oh no, I ain't saying nothing
You better
about
shut
them.
your mouth. Nothing to say
I'm not
here.
even looking at the women. I'm
No,
over.
bro.
See?
You better turn your
I
damn
see
head.
my head over there.
Are they off the screen yet? You look.
Did they leave yet?
I ain't gonna look first. You look.
You look.
I ain't looking.
I ain't playing with them over there.
Hey,
You
somebody
look.
better give me a sign. Is Saudi Arabia off the screen? Okay, we are clear.
Radio.
We escaped that one. That could have got ugly.
Man.
Technically, the opening ceremony kicks off the Olympics, but the U.S. women's soccer team.
They're not even like trying to play about it anymore. Whew. Whew. Let's see.
How's it going,
What
bros?
games,
My name is
brah?
Today, we're gonna make some 3x3s. I recently watched the boys at the Trash Taste do this. It was an old thing. I don't know if people still are doing
is
this,
this?
but it reminded me of it. I remember people would post like,
Oh, yeah, I
their
remember
9
this kind
favorite
of.
something. It was usually video games. I never actually made one.
yeah.
It feels like a tier list kind of thing, but for your favorite. It was always like, this is what defines me. Look at this. It even became like a meme, like, get a load of my sweet 3x3. It's totally original. It totally reflects my true taste. I have good taste, right?
Right, yeah.
I love
I've
this
always
game
had
for
good
nothing
taste.
else.
That's what it
I'm
means.
totally, dare I say, your guy.
I knew these games were cool before I
wanted
even
to try
grew
and
up.
make my 3x3. Let's start off with games. One of my favorite games. I don't like video games. I have nothing to put. Fuck, this is hard. I think I'll just do the games that impacted me the most. Star Fox 64. I had never heard of this game before. But me and my parents, we were on holiday in Spain, and in Spain you could buy like really cheap video games. It's also where you can buy on the market like those Game Boy cartridges that had like 100 fucking ripped off illegal games on them, and it was just the best. I was allowed to pick up one game, and I randomly picked up Star Fox 64. I had no idea what it was, but it was.
I don't think I've ever played Star Fox, to be quite honest.
That game blew my mind. I think it was one of those games like, you kids will never experience this, okay? Or maybe you will. I'm sure you will. I'm being a little boomery here.
Yeah,
but I
little
remember
boomer.
one of the most fun things about video games when you were a kid was like talking about video games with your friends.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Star Fox was one of those games that had a couple of secrets in it, and I remember going to school and talking about it and being like, what the different stuff that we had discovered and like the different levels. And there's a submarine level? No, you're kidding me. What? I just have to go left and then right? I'm like, whoa. I can't wait to come home after school to try this out, right? That was just so exciting and so much fun. And I think that's why, you know, Star Fox, it's an alright game. It's an alright game. It's not the best game, I know that. But to me, and the experience I had with the game, it's gotta be up there, you know? And the Rumble Pack, that was sick. That was the first time I had the Rumble Pack. I also remember the last boss was so cool.
I never had one.
It clearly just ripped off Star Wars, but whatever. God, it scared the shit out of me, dude. And another thing I love about this game is that all the lines are so iconic.
Yeah, the lines were funny. Do a barrel roll. There it is. Knew it.
All range mode. All aircraft report. We're heading for Aquis.
We're heading for what? Dude, Slippy's was the best. I fucking love Slippy.
Thought you could hide from me, eh? Don't forget me! Do something! Are you okay? Data analysis complete. Here it comes. Ah! I'm hit! Don't worry. Slippy's here. Enemy ahead.
Which
I
is
bet
the
that's
one,
why he
hey,
named his
Einstein, I'm on your side.
Toad or whatever,
Forgetting.
Slippy.
Hey, Einstein, I'm on your side.
The amount of times this fucker would tell me that. Which was the best line, though. The best line in the whole game is, can't let you do that. Stop. This blew my mind. I was like, this is the coolest thing.
Can't let you do that. Stop.
Andros has ordered us to take you down.
Taibbi, long time no see.
Yeah, I don't know why. I can't explain why I thought this was so cool. I was like, can't let you do that, Starbucks.
Oh, this
This
makes me
scene
just
is
like think of
ingrained to my
Perfect
childhood.
Dark.
That's so funny. Like, I'm sharing that experience with other people, and I don't know why. I think there was some background that, like, he's the one that killed your dad, and then he shows up out of nowhere, and it's like, can't let you do that, Starbucks.
Can't let you do that. Stop.
Hell fucking yeah! I realize now there's so many games that come to mind. I gotta put Donkey Kong Country 2 on this bitch. I gotta put this shit under this. Oh my god, this game.
I never played Donkey. I did, but I wasn't very. Didn't play it very much. This is the thing that I'm thinking of right now. The ending of Perfect Dark.
Yes!
And then the little alien dude, Elvis. He was so funny. Little alien shit. Where's he at? There he is.
Joanna! Where are you? Are you hurt? Elvis! Elvis, over here! No problem. Grab my arms. We'll get you out in no time. No! Quick! Give me your gun! Will you just let go? I managed to get the fleet to stop the bombardment while I looked for you. They'll start as soon as we're clear.
I'd have got out in time if that one hadn't grabbed my foot.
Of course, Joanna. Of course.
No, I would have.
I believe you.
I believe you. I remember that.
And this
too
does
well.
not
I played the game too much.
The 1x1 square formula, but whatever. Okay, I talked about this before, but so I wasn't allowed to have a game console. I don't know why. Like, my mom loved playing video games. I guess she did it more for herself. She's like, no, we're not having a game console. She cracked eventually. All right. But it meant that whenever I was sick, we would rent a game console. So being sick,
Rent a whole
was, like, the
console? That's
greatest
crazy.
thing in the entire universe for me, because then I would always pick a Donkey Kong games. I loved them, but the one I enjoyed the most was Donkey Kong Country 2: Diddy Kong's Quest. I replayed it not long ago, and it's still a legitimately good platformer.
Yeah, this is the one I remember
And the
playing.
thing was, you could play 2 players with it.
I used to play this at my aunt's house.
I don't think it necessarily was. So to be able to play like a game with your friend, no, I think that was pretty common. But I just remember this was like the first game I played that was together with someone else. I would play with my sister, I would play with my mom. It was just so fun. Oh, I remember even when I wasn't sick anymore, my mom kept the console rented, and then she would play it in her bedroom. And then if she got stuck on a level, I would have to come in and play with her.
That's funny.
Oh, it's so funny how all these like sound effects and shit are so ingrained in you, but especially that soundtrack. I think this is the greatest soundtrack of any video game. I already know which song I love. Is it the this one. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Takes me back, man.
Yeah.
So good.
Turn out.
There's so many more good songs on this. Oh, yeah. Chill Mouse literally just like re-uploads them and they got a ton of views. So good. So good. Beautiful. Checkpoint. Get done with school and now I can finally focus on YouTube right now. Wait, what? What is with the checkpoint meme? People are like updating how they're doing based on this video. What the fuck is this meme? Feeling lonely lately. What the? Okay, my checkpoint. Came from some nostalgia. This game fucking slaps. I had a great childhood. No complaints. What the fuck am I looking at? Another obvious one for me is the game Taibbi. I talked about this game before.
I never played Taibbi.
The best version was clearly 7.6, I think. It looked like this. This is what the fucking game looked like. Can you believe it? Can you make anything uglier? I guess this game was kind of like RuneScape, but
yeah.
from the overhead perspective only. And I played it with my friends.
I played RuneScape a lot
the most fun I've
when I was
ever
young.
had in video games.
Whenever I got the internet.
Playing this fucking game because it was complete anarchy. You could do whatever you wanted in this
That
game.
and like
You could fuck
Halo
people
2
over
on
so
Xbox
bad.
Live. Oh my
And
god.
as a young kid playing it, you obviously got
So many hours of my life.
so many people. And it's so funny. I still remember like these memories of just making people get so pissed off. It's like the best part of my childhood. Oh man. What could you do? I'm sure there's the same scams like in RuneScape, but like you could trade items with people, and back in the day you would have to like write in a public
Trimming
chat
armor
or something, be like, okay, I'm trading this
Yep.
item.
Trimming
and someone
trimming all
else
armor gold and
would
silver.
see it, and then reply, and then you have to be like, okay, which city are you in? The map in Tibia is
Doubling money.
huge, so they're
Doubling
like, oh,
gold.
I'm in Thais, oh, I'm in Venor, okay, I'll come to you, but then you have to pay extra. No, it's fine, I'll come to you, don't pay extra or whatever. And then so much to organize just to get a fucking item, right? But it was part of the game. So finally you make it to each other and you're supposed to make the trade. And what you could do to scam people was you take like, and I even remember, all right, this item, you would take that. That's a low level scam though. So someone would trade you Warhammer. You don't even get that much money out of it. It's worth 1,200. So you would trade this item with people. I remember doing this a lot because it's easy to do on a low level. Oh, you have to be level 50 to use it now. Oh, what a shame. They nerfed it. Such a good like early whatever. What the fuck am I talking about?
Yeah, what is he even talking about right now?
Someone
Holy
would
shit.
trade you this and you would trade it with them, and then it would pop up a window like you are trading this with this. You see their money and they see your Warhammer. And then you click cancel and they're like, oops, sorry, I clicked trade again. And then you trade again and it shows up Warhammer and they show the money. And it's like, oh fuck, I fucked up. Clicked cancel again. And then the third time you trade Battle Hammer instead. It's garbage, worth nothing. And since they're just ready to click yes, and they look kind of similar, it's a great way to trick people out of their money. There's like a million things like that you
What
can
a
do
goon.
in Tibia. And the ways to steal people's money, threaten them, extort them for money. It was the best. I'm annoying now. Imagine how annoying I was playing this game. as a child. You can't. I was the worst. I could talk about memories from this game for days, and I'll forever be grateful to Tibia for what it was. Now it seems like it's just pay to win. It's a kind of a shame. I don't know if you can put Dota 1 on the list, because it wasn't a game, it was like a mod from Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne. Oh yeah, I would play the sniper a lot. He was so fun. Such an easy character. When was this? Like, when did Dota came out? 2003 we were playing this. Me and my friends in Sweden, we would go to these net cafes. I guess I'll have to
Net
put this
cafes.
game on. Technically, this wasn't the game.
Yeah, we had like a
mod
net
from
cafe.
So yeah, we
It's
would
called
go to net cafes and we would play this all together, like a party of, what is it, 4 or 5, I don't remember. And we would
Used to have,
play
like,
against either
LAN
online
parties
or
there
against
and
other
stuff.
people
It
in
was
the net
sick.
cafe. And just yelling
He
at
just says
each other
net cafe,
all
so
in
funny.
the same room,
The net
playing
cafe.
games together on a computer.
Net cafe.
You know, that wasn't possible without net cafes.
Net
back in the
cafes.
day. Not everyone had a computer like that at home and
Yeah.
with stable internet, especially was just like
Especially whenever games got
and now
like
it's huge, not in
graphic
Sweden,
intensive.
surprisingly, because everyone's got their own computer, but in other countries like Korea and I don't fucking know. I just remember that being so much fun, and like on a Saturday, call up your friends, we would all go to town to an event,
Right,
play
it was
Dota
so fun.
together. Just amazing memories.
Played
So,
WoW, though.
For the Dota, when that came out, I remember
WoW and Halo.
Dota stopped being popular and some other clones of Dota came out. I know there was some problem with the lawsuit and you know, because it was a mod and the mod of the game was becoming better than the game itself, and it was kind of awkward. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember League of Legends coming out, right? And we were all laughing our asses off. 2009. How
Yeah.
old was I then?
I played a little bit of League when I was in
I wasn't that
college.
young. What the fuck? Is that possible? Well, anyway, I remember when League of Legends first came out, we were like, there's no way this garbage is gonna become popular. Are you kidding me? It looks like fucking trash. Look how colorful and dumb it is. That was like the biggest game of all time. It's like, oh, guess we were wrong. I never played much MOBA after that, but I mean, yeah, MOBA is huge now. Everyone's probably played at some point. I think I had my fun with it. Like, I don't really see a reason to jump into it. Now, MOBA will never be as fun as when we played it all together, net cafes in Sweden. That was such a good fucking time. Clearly, there's like some sort of interaction with a lot of these games. It's not just how I experience them, but it's how I experience them with other people, with friends or family. I think that's kind of cool. Like, that's what left more of an impact. I just noticed a pattern. I'm trying to think of like games now that I played on my own that kind of blew my mind. I think there's the YouTube ones that I played that I will get into, but I'm trying to think pre-YouTube still. Because I can easily just slap Minecraft on there. I'm trying to think. Well, I guess now is a good time to add Minecraft. Obviously, I gotta add Minecraft. This game.
Never played Minecraft.
I had one of the most fun times on my YouTube
no care
channel
to play
thanks
it.
to this game. So I'll forever be grateful for it, for sure. Like all the excitement for a new episode for this game, and all the excitement for me looking forward to record a new episode as well. It's the fucking best feeling in the world, man. So good. That week when I literally got married, beat the Ender Dragon at the same time. How lit was that, dude? That's a highlight. That's a peak for sure. It's also a game that I played
That's
before
funny.
I did YouTube. It was actually the first thing I ever recorded. I don't have the original footage of it, but it was, kind of ironically. Like, I kind of started my YouTube at the same time as Minecraft became big, and then I avoided playing it for so long just because I thought it was like too popular and kind of cringy, and then I realized, hey, it's actually a fucking amazing game. And
I'm
I love
probably
being
in
able
that
to
camp
share that
still.
with you guys as well online. Now, I don't know, like,
I feel
play it
bad.
so much. If there's new updates, I'll obviously check it out, but I don't know. Did anyone ever play this game?
Favorite third-party developer was for the Nintendo 64. They'll probably tell.
I feel like this could easily be on the list. It's just that I'm not convinced. This is one of those games I loved. It's so fucking weird and trippy. Yeah, it's one of those underrated games.
Never heard
that
of it.
legitimately
No idea what
was
it is.
really good. I just don't have like that personal connection to it, really. It feels like one of those games you would put on your 3x3 to be like, hey, look at me, guys. I get this underrated game on here. Yeah, it's definitely. There was another one like that on the 64. Oh, Pokemon Snap, Diddy Kong
Pokemon
Racing,
Snap
dude,
was
like
so
any game
lame.
on the Nintendo 64 was
I
always
did
worth it.
not
And you
enjoy it.
Kitsui, oh my god.
Oh, Fur Day, Resident Evil, yeah.
Legend of
Majora's
Zelda.
Mask,
Oh,
GoldenEye for sure.
That could easily be on the list. Could easily be on the list. It's just not there. I don't have that connection in my soul like I do with all these.
Yeah,
other
I don't know. I do with GoldenEye a little bit.
games.
GoldenEye
Mario
and
Kart 64,
definitely
same. Super
Perfect
64,
Dark, obviously.
same. Legend of Zelda, same.
Ocarina of Time,
It's
not so
fully
much.
there.
Majora's Mask a lot.
It isn't fully there, man. Oh my god, how could I
But I never could
forget
beat Majora's
for
Mask. I just
even
played it all the
a
time.
second?
Yeah,
I
Game
had the
Boy
blue
games
one.
too.
I wanted the red
I had the
one, but I
red.
got the blue one.
I had the red one.
Oh boy. Shit. What was it about this game that just blew everyone's mind? I don't know.
I don't know.
The
You
whole,
could
like,
like
going on an
trade with people
adventure
too
and
with the
then
little
proving your challenge up
with
for the challenge in
the
all
little
gyms,
cable.
You know, getting that emotional attachment.
I think
to
the
your
trading part was the
Pokemons.
part that was cool
Get
because
to
like you could like
role-play this
earn
really-
something and then like
and the anime that came out
show
at
your
the
friends
same
and give it
time,
to
I
them
think, as
or like
well,
trade it
just
with
gave
them. You
you
know,
such a heavy
it like made it
impact.
real kind of.
God, this game was so
How is he
good.
missing that?
And
I
another
can't believe
great
he's
part
missing
about
that.
This game was that everyone was playing it.
Yes.
Like every kid in Sweden had a
Okay, so
Game
he's probably
Boy
gonna say
loaded
that
up
then.
with either the red or the blue Pokemon on it, right? And also another part of it was I had one of these cables.
Exactly.
I convinced my
See?
mom to buy
Okay,
it.
exactly.
So you could play against other people.
Yep.
So their Pokemon against your Pokemon, which to me was like the coolest thing because I'm like, this is what Pokemon is all about. You battle each other with
Yep.
your Pokemon.
Exactly, and
so
you
I
can
would
trade
go
and
around
stuff
with my
too.
fucking cable and challenge all these dumbass kids who weren't ready for a random kid to challenge them. And I, of course, would have the most annoying, cheekiest setup of only like I would have all the psychic Pokemon and just use sleep over and over again.
Oof.
And I was like, that's so
He
cool.
was one
I'm
of
like
those
one of
kids.
those gym people because they only use one set of Pokemon, and I'm like the psychic Pokemon guy, and I sleep there, and then they.
Although
die,
I don't have
and
much
it's
room to talk,
awesome.
I
And
was
they can't do
definitely like in the Alakazam
You
department
fools.
with my. He was one of my main
So
Pokemon.
fun. Fucking hell, such a
Alakazam,
good game.
Charizard,
All right, we only got 3
Dragonite.
spots left. What's
Those
it
are the
gonna
cool
be?
ones.
Obviously, Amnesia. the
Gyarados
Dark
too.
Descent.
Yeah.
There just wasn't
Yeah,
any
Amnesia.
other horror game out there like this game.
I didn't
for
play
someone that
much
had
of it, but
no experience with
I
horror
remember
games,
watching
or
him
even
playing
barely
it,
was able to watch horror
and it was
movies,
very.
to go through this game.
It was a scary game. It
was such
seemed.
an insane experience
At least
in
for
itself.
witnessing
I've never been
someone else
so
play it.
scared in my
The
life, and I
few
probably
hours I
will
played it was
never be
like
so scared in
definitely
my
terrifying, but
It
it
was also
definitely
at the
wasn't as
time where I
bad.
was starting off YouTube. I was still in university and I was really struggling on what I wanted to do, but I thought, you know, it might be fun to record myself playing this game. It's not really a thing that people did at the time. It wasn't popular, but I thought, okay, well, if I have to go through and play this game that I'm clearly way too scared of playing, I might as well record myself playing it. I think this is the part where I was the most scared ever. I was so scared. The video that started it all, the beginning of a legend.
The barrel.
What a wimp. It wasn't like a huge thing for my channel right away. I was still fairly small for a very, 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 very long time. Okay? But Amnesia obviously became the thing that got my channel started.
That's what I
But it wasn't like
found
I
him
played it and
from.
viral huge. Just
But
was
I
one
didn't
of
find
those
him
things.
for years. I think.
House at the
I
time,
think I
and
was still in
would
college
wake
though. It
up
was
at,
probably
like
like
4 a.m.,
2014 or
load up
15.
Amnesia, start recording it. It was a weird time, but I loved it. Good memories. We got 2 more. I'm gonna fill this with. I'm asking Reddit, which one? They like Outlast, classic PewDiePie, Last of Us. Last of Us is almost worthy. It just isn't. Well, Last of Us is really close actually. Such a shame because I hated the second one. I'm close to putting it on there actually. Just because it was at the time where
Yeah, it's a pretty good game.
becoming the biggest channel on the site, and it was such an engaging experience. It was one
Yeah,
of
I did enjoy it a
biggest
lot.
playthroughs I'll probably ever have after Amnesia. I don't know, I'm not like a huge fan of the game. It's more like my experience with the game and sharing it with you guys online. I don't know if it's worthy actually. We'll put it there for now. Dude, we've done some crazy playthroughs on this channel. I know, I forgot one. This is, yeah. I don't care. I don't care. I love this game. I love this game. I had so much fucking fun playing this game. It was such a good shooter. Absolutely.
It was alright.
Yeah, no regrets. This is also the kind of game I played before YouTube.
I can't believe he doesn't have Halo on there. What a loser, dude.
917. Not that bad.
Absolute
Just
loser.
40
And then
days
he
of my
puts
life,
COD on it, dude.
roughly. I'm removing Last of Us. Sorry. Oh, fucking Bully was so good. Any of the Dark Souls games could be good too. I love those. I don't know. I think I know. Sorry, I'm a boomer. This is legitimately just an amazing fucking game. Okay.
Oh my god.
You can play it now, today, and it has aged perfectly. Okay, it's still amazing. One of my favorite single-player games. It's probably this or Bioshock 1, but I think Half-Life 2 is better. There you go. That's my 3x3. I did it. I think I'm satisfied. I'm actually happy with it. I didn't think I would be. What the fuck? This is so weird to look at. Dude, thank you for letting me rant about my own reminiscences. What are your experiences? I want to know. Let me know if you shared any of my my childhood or gaming experiences. Let me know what they are.
What can I
Thanks for
say?
watching. See
I
you
called this
one thing
didn't
that
I?
we've definitely been seeing a lot
We
more
predicted
of
this
in the
bloodbath,
market.
okay? It's why I'm wearing red. I mean, honestly, a few hours ago, this shirt was pure white. But it's been bad in the markets if you're a bit clout holder. If you're Clouter, Stephen
shit.
Clouter, you're not having a good time, okay? It was crypto's Fire Fest. Look, they promised influencers, they promised the world, and they delivered on pretty much nothing. Today, it's almost
Who
like a
coulda told you
post-mortem.
that?
Listen, they're still holding on. They're still holding on by
Anybody.
a thread. But the writing's on the wall, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to talk about it right now. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the $10 million studio. I'm your host, CoffeeZilla, the internet detective. And today we're talking, of course, about BitClout. Guys, it was worth $177 when I covered it in March. Remember, that was around when they launched. The current price of BitClout is $73, giving you an ROI, if you invested, of negative 59%, which I think is just swell. Some of the best you see these days. Ladies and gentlemen, just remember, and this is really important. Let's bring down the board here. This is a coin here that was backed, or should I say platform. They call themselves a social platform, decentralized social media. They were backed by some of the biggest brains in the world. The guys who are on top figuring out what the next trend is. You got people like A16Z, Jamath, the Winky Twins.
Oh my god.
Backed by some of the biggest
Oh my
brains
god.
in the world. The guys who are on top figuring out what the next trend is. You got people like A1.
Look at that dude's head. He has to be brilliant.
16Z, Jamath, the Winky Twins.
Oh,
they
the
all
Winkers.
collectively decided that it was a good idea to trust a guy, their leader, who goes by the name of Diamond Hands. Well, turns out it actually wasn't. Now, there are about 1 million metrics you could measure the failure of BitClout by, not the least of which is the price. But I think the worst metric for them is clout, ironically enough. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a graph of their search terms. And as you can see, they've just slowly sort of been sliding into obscurity.
Literally.
Both on Google and more broadly. People just aren't interested in it. People really just aren't
Didn't
talking
care.
about it the
Who
way
could have
they
told
used
you?
to. And I think
Pretty
part
much
of that
anybody.
is, we'll start with the failure, why it failed. I think part of it's due to the rocky launch where they just
And the
stole a lot of people's
confusing
identities. I don't know if you guys remember
nonsense
that.
of it.
They took the top
Yeah.
like several thousand public profiles
And then just like
took their
sent them
Twitter profiles and just
requests
threw them on
to
the
like
site and let
and gave
people
them
invest
coins.
in them
Yeah.
before people even knew they were being used on BitClout.
Exactly.
Which led to some pretty ironic results. Like right now, even now, the top creators of all time on BitClout are people who have not joined BitClout. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The number one invested profiles are Elon Musk and Naval, who both, thanks to that little clock icon, have not joined. They have not.
They never claimed any of their money.
And their
Yeah.
public persona to be used by BitClout to make money. But here they are, the number one and number two. It's completely absurd. And I think that their vision of like this decentralized social media, which I actually think is kind of a good idea, I think it really got overshadowed by this hustle for money.
Yep.
Because look, I've spent a lot of time on BitClout just looking at what people are saying. I don't have any BitClout, but I just like watch. Just I'm interested. What are people talking about? And honestly, it's
Nothing.
Twitter, but worse.
Yeah.
I mean, on Twitter, yes, everybody's self-promoting. But on BitClout, everyone's
That's the whole
self-promoting, so
point.
you'll invest in them. So
Yeah,
you'll
that's the
invest
whole
in their
point
creative.
of
That's
it.
why anyone's on BitClout, or why most of them are on BitClout. They're so they can get rich on BitClout. So everything's like about like self-promotion times 10 to the max, and it's just kind of cringy. It's like just everyone's constantly pitching to you, and no one thought of like the normal user's experience. You know, like non-famous people, you have to get them on board. Why are they going to join when everyone's constantly like shilling to get your money? I don't know. It was this really weird thing when I realized that that's what this had sort of become. It's kind of had bad incentives from the start, a bad launch. But ladies and gentlemen, since this is a post-mortem, I also think there's something else we all need to look at here. And that is what BitClout did with all this money they've made. Remember from my last video, we talked about a wallet that BitClout got that got basically $200 million in Bitcoin from people who were trying to invest in their silly new idea. And they successfully raised all this money. But I think the question is, what are they doing with that money? Well, according to Decrypt, this is from several months ago, Diamond Hands did an interview with them. They're talking about, at the time, it was only $170 million stash. I know, kind of a joke, right? But anyway, Diamond Hands assured Decrypt that neither he nor BitClout's developers would use it to pay themselves, saying their financial incentives are instead tied to the success of the BitClout token. So basically, they have, now it's like $200 million, all this money sitting in a bank, Bitcoin wallet, and they said, guys, trust us. We're not, hey, trust us. Don't worry, we're not going to do anything with it. And that's, of course, when they were telling you guys they were decentralized. They're a decentralized organization where they control the keys to where all the money is, right? That's how this works. But I think we have to watch these guys, because I think they're going to do something with that money. They're sure not going to let it sit there forever. And just recently, they started moving a bunch of Bitcoin out of it. They have before, but I think this is the largest amount they've moved out since.
So what is that, 60 times? No, 50 times?
599 Bitcoin out of this wallet with all this money. By the way, 599 Bitcoin is about $28 million, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, exactly. Chump change for these guys. So I tried to trace down where some of it was going. Here we go. I put together a little map here. This is the wallet.
Man.
Where all this money was.
These people are never going to get away with anything when coffee's on the case, boy.
Here to this wallet over here. And then that wallet was then sent that same money over here. We double click on that. And then as you can see, this wallet now sends Bitcoin to a number of different addresses. 221 Bitcoin here, 360 Bitcoin here. But anyway, the point is we have no idea where this money's going or ultimately what it's being used for. That's the great thing about having a founder who's anonymous, right? Is that you don't know what they're going to do with the money that they've raised. And you can rely on their promises all day that supposedly they're not going to take a paycheck, but we have no idea what they're going to do with this money. Diamond Hands apparently said that they had plans to do use Bitcoin Stash for good, but he declined to say if such good would come from donating the money to a Save the Whales style charity work. Oh boy.
Oh
or
no.
from starting a foundation to promote the BitClout token, which other projects have done in the past. Guys, we don't know what he's going to use it for. That's the point. And the other point is that $28 million just got moved from that wallet, and I'm sure a lot more will get moved soon as well. Because frankly, ladies and gentlemen, BitClout's days may be numbered here. They started really high, as we said, huge launch because everyone thought these huge influencers were on there. Turns out they weren't really, and the ones that were just wanted to make a quick buck off their followers. And then it just kind of stagnated, and then now the coin is crashing. So with that happening, it'll be interesting to follow that wallet and see where that money's going. But ladies and gentlemen, that's basically all I wanted to cover for this, is let you guys know what was going on. I got to say, kind of called this one. Hope you guys didn't lose money.
All right, this one's going to be a little heavy, just in case. Explicit viewer message, viewers be advised, whatever.
One thing that we've definitely been seeing a lot more of in the modern day is comedians being punished for the jokes that they tell, either by getting arrested or having the cancel vultures come after them and trying to destroy them and ruin their life. However, I mean, we always knew the Taliban would take something like that a little bit further, and this is something that happened recently. the day the Taliban captured and executed obscene Afghan TikTok comedian who carried on telling jokes about the militia even as they dragged him away in Kandahar. So this man has just been captured by the fucking Taliban and he's still cracking jokes and making fun of them. Nazar Mohammed filmed being taken away from his home in Kandahar province. The video shows a Taliban fighter sitting on either side of him, one with a Kalashnikov. One insurgent slaps him repeatedly in the face as he makes jokes about the Taliban right in front of the Taliban. He was later found dead after reportedly being shot and having his throat slit. This is the moment an Afghan comedian continued to mock the Taliban as fighters from the insurgent group dragged him away from his home before later executing him by firing squad. In a viral video filmed at the end of July, Nazar Mohammed, better known as Kashaswan, can be seen in the back of a car with an insurgent on either side of him, one of them brandishing a Kalashnikov machine gun. He was known for routines that poked fun at the Taliban through song and dance, including some that were uploaded to his TikTok account. In the video of his final moments, Mohammed continues to make jokes about the group after his capture, causing the Taliban fighter to his right to begin slapping him across the face. So even though he's surrounded by men with guns, even though he's getting slapped in the face, even though he knows he is being taken to his death, the man kept making jokes.
Whoa.
The man to his left is seen laughing throughout before menacingly switching his gun for an even bigger looking firearm. I mean, at least they made the Taliban laugh. And there's pictures of the boy there getting taken away in the car. That's such a waste, man. That's so shite.
Look, the guy looks old too.
Oh, the Taliban gangs are having sex with dead bodies. Yeah, I've seen some stuff about that. I don't know if it's true, though, but, you know.
What?
Them. According to reports, photos show him backed up against a tree and then lying on the ground with his throat cut. The Taliban initially denied involvement in the star's death before admitting responsibility and confirming the two men in the car were Taliban. The group said the suspects had been arrested and will be tried in a Taliban court, where I am certain they will face justice. The group alleged that Nazar from the Kandahar province was involved in the torture and killing of Taliban, adding that he should have faced a Taliban court, but instead of being immediately put to death. He was in charge of capturing and killing the Taliban, really, and it had nothing to do with his popular TikTok account where he makes fun of the Taliban. Nazar previously worked for the Afghan National Police, making him a target for revenge killings, and was known for his crude jokes and funny songs. Yeah, basically, if you worked in any establishment that assisted America or like Britain or anybody like that during the last 20 years, if you worked for any of them, like, you're dead. That's it. The Taliban are already going around and rounding everybody up and killing them. Anybody that helped the Americans, anybody that helped the British. I
don't know about that, but I wouldn't doubt it.
He would regularly make fun of topics suggested by his followers, with the Taliban being no exception. His brutal killing at the end of July sparked fears of revenge killings as Afghanistan falling city by city to the Taliban. Zwan left behind a wife and daughters, for fuck's sake. After his death, Ziadu Yusuf, whoever the hell that is, whose daughter Malala Yousafzai, these bloody names, man. Malala Yousafzai survived being shot in the head by Taliban militants in Pakistan in 2012, was among those who paid tribute on social media. Others who denounced the death include Sarwar Danesh, the Afghan vice president, before the Taliban took over Kabul this month. He said that slapping Zwan was the same as slapping all of the Afghan people, and said his killing was against Afghan culture. It was also one of the first major dents in the insurgent group's attempt to brand itself as Taliban 2.0. Leaders promised that no harm would come to those working for the government.
Oops.
The US military, or anyone associated with American organizations. There's all the tributes and everything for it. It's just like, like the guy's obviously just taking the piss, man. However, the list of alleged atrocities and human rights abuses has only mounted in recent weeks. Human rights group Amnesty International revealed last week that Taliban fighters massacred 9 ethnic Hazara men after taking control of the country's Ghazni province last month, with eyewitnesses giving harrowing accounts of the killings. 6 men were shot and 3 were tortured to death, including one man who was strangled with his own scarf and had his arm muscle sliced off during the atrocity, which took place
Jesus.
between July 4th to 6th in the village of Mundarat, Malistan district, the group revealed. Despite the organization's their hunt for those who dared to work for the Taliban, anyone that did...
Okay, you don't need to read the whole article.
Joining us now, we have independent journalist Matt Taibbi. Has a great Substack you all should be checking out if you haven't already. Great to see you, Matt.
Good to see you, Matt.
Good to see you both. How are you doing?
I'll be right
Very
back.
good. So your latest piece, you make the case that both parties are too corrupt to rescue with regards to the military-industrial complex, something I want to argue with you about in a moment. But first, I wanted to talk to you about an important point that you make in this piece. I'm just going to read from it for a moment. You say, under the influence of captured parties and the military's ubiquitous and extravagantly funded PR apparatus, America has itself redefined the nature of war. Armed conflict has gone from being an occasional unpleasant political necessity to the core product line of the American corporation. Just expand on that a little bit, because I think it gets to this important point of it's not an accident that we end up mired in these wars forever and facing these questions of like, oh, did we win? Did we lose? Well, the truth of the matter is the people who were propagating this war won. They won because they got billions and billions of dollars, and their political allies won because they got lots and lots of campaign contributions and potential employment after they finish their quote-unquote public service. So just expand on that point for us, Matt.
Yeah, I really believe, after covering a lot of stories on this subject across the last 20 years, that you can trace a lot of what went wrong in Afghanistan to the fact that we have this continually expanding massive defense budget. We are continually expanding our footprint of bases overseas. We have 800 bases in 80 different countries. We have special forces operations in as many as 70% of the world's countries at any given time. And this is a direct consequence of there being so many bureaucratic actors who have an interest in there being a mission. So when we have a situation like Afghanistan, we may have a limited mission at the beginning, which is either to go in and root out Al-Qaeda or to get bin Laden. But once all those different bureaucratic actors within the Pentagon get their hands on the mission, and they start saying things like, well, we got to build roads, we got to build a stable economy, we got to build independent radio stations. Next thing you know, you have this outgrowth of a mission that just never ends. And that's kind of the direction of where American military conflicts go now. It's just we're just built to create these occupations that don't have a definable mission and never end.
Here's something that you write. And I think we have a tear sheet. Let's put that up there on the screen just so people can see exactly what you wrote. We need new institutions free of Pentagon influence, probably starting with a new political party. It doesn't even matter so much what such a party would stand for ideologically, as long as it adheres to one basic principle: don't accept contractor money. Why is it, do you think, that a new party is necessary, given the events of the last couple of weeks and what we've seen in terms of how both parties were actually not just comfortable, but exceedingly appreciative of
I got some
forever
food.
war?
Well, I mean, I developed that idea a long time ago. I did a story a couple of years ago about the inability of the Pentagon to conform with a legally mandated audit. It had been ordered back in 92 to audit itself, and it's been putting it off ever since, and declared itself inauditable a couple of years ago. And when I talked to aides in Congress about this, they said the reason we'll never get an audit of the Pentagon is because all of the relevant members of all the relevant committees depend on cash from the big five contractors. That will never end. And so because of that, we'll never be able to threaten the Pentagon with cutting off their funds, which means we'll never be able to get them to do anything like do proper accounting. And so as long as you have the key committees taking money from these contractors, you're never going to get movement on key issues involving military policy. It's just not going to happen. And so as little as I think there is perspective for a third party to really have influence, we either have to get comfortable with the idea that these kinds of things are never going to end, or we have to figure out some way to get rid of corporate money in politics, and specifically this kind of money in politics.
So you go through what was basically done to Bernie in the Democratic primary, of course, first in 2016 and then this time around, which is all true. And I do not claim that the prospect of sort of taking over the Democratic Party with a Sanders-like movement is an easy or clear-cut prospect whatsoever. But it seems like it has a track record of coming a lot closer than a third party does at this point. And in fact, you could say on the Republican side that Trump did actually manage to do it. It just turned out that he was exactly the same as every other Republican and is now putting out statements saying we should reinvade in Afghanistan to get our Jeeps back or some insanity like that. But they didn't know that at the time, okay? Elites did not want this guy to win the Republican nomination, and he did it and would have been able to remake the Republican Party in his image. So doesn't it seem a lot more likely that you could affect that kind of change through the Sanders or Trump direction than starting a whole third party from scratch, which doesn't have a track record of success or anything close to it in the modern era?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think you could argue that there have been
there's
close
definitely
calls
possible,
also with somebody like Ross Perot, who was once leading in the polls.
He's the one that I would think of, but that's that was the 90s, dude.
If Bernie Sanders, who is an independent, had run as an independent, we might have had a similar result. But overall, it doesn't really matter to me whether it comes from within the system or through a third party.
Right.
The important thing is there has to be some kind of political institution that doesn't take
like
the money. And, whether that's from a billionaire who doesn't need the money, like Donald Trump, running a campaign free of the dictates of donors, which actually did happen. He did run the campaign that he wanted to run, or whether it's Bernie Sanders doing the kind of campaign that he did, which was based on the idea of not taking the money, and he ended up being the leading fundraiser, which was an extraordinary accomplishment. So the elements are there, and you add to that the voter sentiment, which is clearly in the direction of not doing these kinds of engagements anymore.
Absolutely.
There's something there. I mean, it's possible. It's a logistical thing that has to be worked out.
Why do you think Joe Biden was able to do this thing? Why do you think he did this thing? And listen, Joe Biden increased the military budget. He's still doing drone strikes,
going to other countries, you dummies.
Bombing Syria. I mean, let's not pretend like he's an anti-imperialist now. But this was a very difficult thing to do.
Just like
the media threw everything
good,
at him.
Good amount of
deep state leaping against him with everything. The women and the girls and the equipment and every angle that they could possibly think of. And yet he still held firm and ended the engagement when he said he was going to end the engagement. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think Afghanistan, look, it's been 10 years since we had even a theoretical reason to be in Afghanistan. I mean, once bin Laden was out of the picture, there was no logical reason for us to be there anymore, and it's been nothing but a catastrophe. And that war is no longer popular. It's a political loser for every party. Donald Trump actually scored quite a significant amount of points by talking about ending it. I think it's just internally within the Pentagon and within D.C., there was a lot of discussion like, look, we got to move on from this one. Like, even though there's still a lot of howling from the Bill Kristol types on TV about how we have to stay or we have to keep in the middle of the road, idea, which is insane.
It's not.
It's amazing
this is
that
imperialism.
That's still popping up. I think that's more about making sure that we don't leave early in the next engagement than it is about realistically going back into Afghanistan. I think that it's a propaganda reflex from these people. They know it's over in Afghanistan. The public is just not behind it anymore.
So what is I think the most distressing part to me of this whole episode is it really showed me, Matt, and I'm curious what you think because you covered it actually more at the time and I wasn't there. Which is that actually the media is still very cool with forever war. They still push it, the same assumptions, the same liars are elevated despite the fact that we knew they were lying all the way back since 2004. I mean, from a journalistic point of view, what has it been like to watch the media behave in this way and just show you about how almost fruitless it is that even with the public behind this decision, or, okay, fine, the theoretical decision, not the withdrawal, whatever, for the people out there who might get upset. But in general, to watch them not really move an inch, what does that tell us about like how much work we have left to do?
It's incredible how wide the dichotomy is between where the national media is on these issues and where the public is. And I think it's starkest with this issue. Maybe it's comparable with things like Wall Street reform, but this is the worst. I mean, the media was 100% all in on going into Iraq. On both sides of the aisle, they went so far as to unhire Jesse Ventura and fire Phil Donahue to make sure that it was like the total unanimity back then. And on Afghanistan, except for the Afghanistan papers story, which was, I think, a fantastic piece of journalism that the Washington Post needs a lot of credit for sticking to. The press just isn't where the public is on this. If you traveled around the country in 2016, when Trump was actually scoring a lot of points talking about NATO and forever war, even though he was totally insincere, the press has never caught up to that sentiment. And I think that says a lot, among other things, about the influence that the Pentagon, the intelligence services still have over these big media companies.
Yeah.
You just can't get booked on a big cable show if you have any kind of anti-war leanings at all.
Yeah.
And that's been true going back to the early 2000s, which I think is an amazing thing.
Well, and Russiagate, as you have chronicled quite extensively, brought a lot of these people back and elevated them with a liberal to progressive audience in a way that, when you have a situation like this, turns out to be extraordinarily damaging. My last question for you, Matt, is it enough to end the contractor money in political campaigns? Because another one of the motivations is, after you finish your quote-unquote public service as a member of Congress,
you just get hired by one of these contractors.
Go and work in the defense industry, or they go and sit on a board. So even if you're not getting campaign cash, there continues to be a monetary incentive to carry water for these people.
Yeah, and I think we saw that pretty graphically with Jay Johnson. He was appearing on television as the former DHS director, and it was conveniently left out that he is on the board of Raytheon currently, as he was talking about the middle ground, as a realistic way of doing things. Yeah, look, that's obviously the same kind of problem that exists with financial services reform, which is that if you work in the relevant committee, if you work in the Armed Services Committee, if you work in Senate appropriations, especially Armed Services appropriations, you have a guaranteed seven-figure income the instant you leave Congress. You can go and sit on the boards of any one of those companies, and it's a plum job that a lot of these members of Congress go straight to. They end up being essentially permanent lobbyists, and it's also true of people in the Pentagon. Like that's become a major part of what military service is all about. If you rise high enough in the procurement side of the military, then you leave and you go to work for Lockheed Martin, or you go to work for BAE or Raytheon or whatever it is, and that's how you make your money. And yes, you're right. So that there has to be something done about that. I don't know what it would be, like a longer wait period, but it's definitely a huge problem.
Listen, I have a fairly radical view on this. I think these people should get a pension, and I think that should be it. I think we should take serious the idea that they're public servants. If you want to serve, this is part of what you agree to. This is part of the sacrifice that's required. I mean, think of what we casually ask our servicemen and women to do. Asking you to just accept a government pension and that's it for the rest of your days, to me, doesn't seem like too great of an ask.
That's right.
It makes sense to me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt, always great to have you. Thank you so much, my friend. And everybody go check out his Substack, as always, if you haven't already. Always great insights there.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Thanks, Crystal Sager. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. It's just been, look, it's a solemn show, I think, to be able to bring the Afghanistan news to everybody. The war is actually over, and it means a lot that we have a ability in order to report it exactly the way that we want it to do. So thank you guys so much for your support. Link is down there in the description to become a premium.
How the f does that even get top vote, dude?
What the fuck? I might already be cashed on this.
Okay, about me. It's okay to do it. I like it, but I want listening about it.
What was I doing? I forgot.
Salt, about a teaspoon. I like to
Okay.
turn my hand into a little bowl and just fill up the little hole, and usually that's about a teaspoon.
I've seen this.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do this. It's too silly. Rehashed content, bro. Let's watch this guy.
Today's video is brought to you by Babbel. Now, if there's something that plagues
I think I'm
me
gonna go
and
to
other
bed after
creators
this. I'm pretty
on YouTube is that
tired.
Every so often, we will just completely mispronounce a word or name without any hesitation at all. George Point toured
This is a long one, though.
Gloucester Island.
Gloucester.
Now, apparently there's a name for this particular phenomenon, and it's called
Calliope.
It's called Calliope syndrome. It's essentially when you know a word and how it's spelled and what it means, but you have no idea on how to pronounce it. And I think this just goes to show you that whenever it comes to speaking any language, it's an active process.
I feel like that happens a lot.
Learning through not only reading, but speaking as well. And given this fact, you might think that learning a second language would be an overwhelming task.
This is an ad, though. You're teaching me things in an ad. Stop. Gosh. I'm sorry. Babbel, barely sociable. Use his code or something.
It was a normal Friday on November 8th, 1957, where at around 11:30 a.m., a Boeing 377 Stratocruiser by the name of Romance of the Skies was getting ready to depart from San Francisco, California, where the destination was Honolulu, Hawaii. The crew awaiting aboard the flight consisted of 8 crew members of Pan American Airlines, 36 total passengers, and at the time they thought their flight was going to be a luxury experience. This Boeing 377 Stratocruiser that they were taking for this trip was quite literally the pinnacle of luxury for a plane back in the 50s. It featured a large double-decker layout, roomy seats, a full buffet, and a cocktail lounge on the bottom floor that could be accessed by a spiral staircase. And Pan Am, being one of the frontrunners when it came to commercial aviation at the time, was one of the first to actually accommodate such a plane. And as a result, they became
don't want to full screen it just in case it gets
to Honolulu from the west coast.
Copy.
And it's safe to say that many of these passengers on this flight were looking for a resort.
I gotta make like a
getaway.
border or something. Maybe it'll
Little
help.
did they know that whatever happened hours after their takeoff would remain a mystery for years to come.
So I want to Google this on the side over here.
As Pan Am Flight 7 departed at 11:30 a.m., nothing was out of the ordinary. The passengers settled in, there was no reported problems, and the route was a straight shot from California into the Pacific Ocean. It was a simple trip aside from the other 10-hour flight duration. Something you should understand with these flights is that given the long distance over the ocean, flights were required to check in with an ocean vessel to make sure that they were on track. Fixed between California and Hawaii was a weather vessel called Ocean Station November. Pan Am Flight 7 would go on to give all required positions to November, with the captain checking in promptly each time. At 0030 hours, a second-to-last check-in would occur. After receiving this message, November would then tell Pan Am Flight 7 that based on their radar, they were 10 miles east of their location. And 34 minutes later, at 0104 GMT, Pan Am Flight 7 would provide its final update. From here after, the plane was due to check in about an hour later, but for some reason, they were never heard from again. With the plane's final transmission, there was no mention of anything out of the ordinary, and it wasn't like there was any major storm in the area either. The weather was calm, and despite this fact, the plane never made another follow-up. At 2:42 GMT, Pan Am had notified the Coast Guard that it had not heard from the plane in over 90 minutes. It would take a little over an hour after that for the Coast Guard to begin dispatching search planes. As the hours would pass without another message from the plane, they had hoped that the flight had simply been having issues with its radio and would ultimately turn up in Honolulu. However, as the search would go into the early hours of the morning, they could safely assume that the flight had run out of fuel. It was at this point that Flight 7 had been declared downed in the Pacific, where in the following days this would become the largest search effort for a commercial plane at the time. When Flight 7 went missing, it was almost as if everything was perfectly fine one moment, and then completely catastrophic the next. While coverage from the press made its way to the front of the newspapers, Pan Am representatives rushed to give statements and do damage control. While there was still hope for survivors at this point, the search efforts continued after the initial night. The next day, the fleet included 30 aircrafts and 14 ships, with a planned search area to cover some 150,000 square miles of the Pacific, where they focused along the path from where the plane's last position was reported.
There you go.
Hours after the initial search began, the Navy then ordered an aircraft carrier by the name of the USS Philippine Sea from Long Beach, California to join. Additionally, 2 Gearing-class destroyers from San Diego joined the search fleet as well. As the search efforts continued over the coming days, pilots began to receive SOS signals from the northeastern corner of the search area. The signals were coming from the same frequency and format that would be found on a Gibson Girl transmitter, and that would have been the same kind of radio found on the life raft of Flight 7. Lieutenant Donald Lang, one of the pilots who ended up hearing the signal, stated to the paper at the time, "The SOS was followed by a series of numbers. I could not make out all of them clearly, but I do know definitely the last number was 4, and I think the second to last number was also 4. Pan Am Flight 7's tail number was 90944. But despite this claim, the SOS calls were later labeled a false alarm from an unknown party, and no other reported emergencies were accounted for to explain this. Furthermore, on that same day, pilots had reported seeing a red flare and yellow dye marker around the area of where the plane had gone missing. But that's not the only thing that was found on the 10th. The Navy's radar had also picked up unidentified floating objects around 80 miles southwest of the last known location. After rushing to the location, the ship was reported to have found objects, but was apparently not able to identify them. The next day, on the 11th, 10 more faint SOS signals made their way to Opolu Point on the Big Island of Hawaii. The transmission started at 1:32 p.m. on this particular day, but after 10 or so broadcasts, they stopped. While there wasn't much follow-up on this particular signal, the statement given by the Coast Guard soon after stated that this could have been someone testing emergency equipment and that they could have been sent from another part of the world. On November 14th, a pilot from Pan Am flying the same route between San Francisco and Honolulu had reported seeing an apparent 2x4 cylindrical object with a dye marker nearby, seen floating among the waves. The location was some 117 miles south of the plane's last reported position, and after dropping a flare and marker, the Coast Guard showed up to the location later that day. From here, the newspaper reported that the object was classified as, quote, unidentified debris. And while the search efforts had continued to get their hopes up for a single solid lead, the search would take a rather bizarre twist on that same day, where over 90 miles north of the plane's last reported position, various bodies and other debris from the plane was found drifting in the ocean.
Oh shit.
Over the course of 2 days, a total of 19 victims were pulled from the ocean, where 14 of them were wearing life jackets. All of them didn't have shoes, and 3 of the watches found on the victims all stopped ticking at 5:27 p.m., which converted to GMT, it places the impact at around 23 minutes after their last reported position. But despite finding all of these bodies and various bits of debris, no major parts of the plane were found. And of what remained of the plane, the debris consisted of charred bits of wreckage, mail, cushions, and other buoyant parts of the plane. And regarding the recovery efforts for the rest of the plane, given the depth of this part of the ocean, it was about 16,500 feet deep, and was deemed too deep to search or recover. Thus, the rest of the plane was left to the ocean. And despite many hints of other survivors, such as flares, dye markers, and SOS signals, the Navy commander ordered a halt on the rescue efforts, claiming that the passengers had met a swift and violent end. However, further examination of the bodies would show a different story. Additionally, the Navy commander offered no explanation as to why various parts of the plane were found to have been burned. With the Navy's search coming to a close, the Civil Aeronautics Board was tasked further with investigating the reasoning behind this crash. And
Sounds like
it's safe to
somebody
say that when
attacked.
their report would finally be released over a year later, their findings would really only deepen the mystery. It's hard to even know where to start when picking apart the many details given by the Civil Aeronautics Board and their investigation. And despite many pieces of evidence pointing one way, the report makes assumptions about the entire set of evidence which they don't have access to. And while the report fairly notes that they can't be certain what caused the plane to come down due to the available evidence, it still brings forth a number of new interesting details and theories. And one of these interesting details that was found among the people recovered in the water was that after a series of tests for toxic materials in their system, 14 of the 19 recovered bodies were noted to have had excessively high levels of carbon monoxide. The CAB in their report questions the validity of these test results as some sort of anomaly related to decomposition. And while possible, if true, this could have also meant that there was a potential fire aboard the flight. However, none of the passengers that they found in the water had any kind of burn injuries. And of the items that remained as debris, none of the items had been burned below the waterline. The CAB speculated that it was only possible that a fire could have broken out after the plane had landed. A rather hasty assumption given the fact that 98% of the wreck was still sitting at the bottom of the ocean. And furthermore, the same treatment is given to any discussion of sabotage. No traces of prohibited explosives or material were found, but just because something wasn't found doesn't necessarily mean that
it wasn't there.
Completely. Furthermore, the CAB explained that none of the items listed on the cargo manifests would have contributed to any fire after the crash. While a package of sodium sulfide was a part of the plane's cargo, the investigators found no trace of the substance and determined no correlation. Continuing on, the pilot and the purser's body were also recovered, and both of the bodies had bruises and abrasions on their thighs. This clue seemed to indicate that these two people were seated during impact. Additionally, one stewardess was found still strapped floating in her chair, making a total of 3 seated during impact. However, on the other hand, no such bruising was present on any of the other passengers, likely indicating that they were possibly walking around the cabin at the time of impact. But that being said, the CAB also noted that the various passengers were in relatively good condition, despite, being dead. But all things considered, the bodies lacked severe lacerations, and while scuffed up, bruised, and several of the victims contained fractures, this wasn't the cause of death for the majority of them. Only about 5 of the victims had been determined to have perished via physical injuries, while they presumed the rest succumbed to drowning. Ultimately, they concluded the following regarding the impact. Although severe, it was not sufficiently great to cause a complete disintegration of the aircraft. And furthermore, in the report, they state, a fairly flat angle of impact is indicated by the nature of the damage to the recovered material, its location within the aircraft, and by the lack of severe mutilation of the bodies. The part of the aircraft from which the recovered wreckage came indicated breakage of the fuselage at about the same locations as has occurred on previous survivable ditchings of the same model aircraft. These circumstances suggest a nearly survivable ditching may have been accomplished. Given this conclusion, this paints the naval commander's statement that all of them died immediately in a far different light, given the fact that various SOS signals were heard, the fact that the majority of the crew members were left, and the various flares and dye markers found drifting in the ocean may have indicated a slight chance that those people made it off in a life raft. But continuing on, regarding what actual pieces of wreckage were found, the items found floating were mostly bits of debris from the rear pressurized cabin, with slightly more items being recovered on the right side. But furthermore, one of the more interesting details was that the plane seems to have turned northwest. The CAB report even seems stumped by this, and offers no explanation for why the plane would have turned away from their intended route. Had the ditching attempt been successful,
Something was in their way,
the pilot
maybe?
was aware that November could aid in their situation. So the fact that they chose to ditch in this direction seems to be out of ignorance or by force, as this would have only made rescuing them harder, as it wouldn't have been along their intended route. Now, when the report moves on to mention the plane's maintenance, the CAB notes several irregularities, such as a couple incidents where they had hard
gauges
landings
were
and forgot
going
to do an
wild.
inspection or two, but ultimately they end up claiming that it had nothing to do with this accident. But once again, it's hard to link any kind of irregularity if you don't even know what caused the plane to go down in the first place. Continuing on, however, the board would place the most likely blame for this particular incident on the plane's propeller. And while it was true that the Stratocruisers were known to have instances of the propeller causing engine failure or even detachment mid-flight, based on the track record of these accidents, the majority of the time they weren't deadly. We'll touch more on this later on in the video.
Yeah, I feel like
And
you
while
would
a
still be
chain
able to
reaction
put
could have
the
been
plane
possible that
down.
would have cut the radios out. That's under the assumption that there was no distress call at all, because perhaps one of the most disturbing paragraphs in this report was the following. The board considered it entirely possible that an emergency message might have been sent from the flight after the 104 position report, and that such message might not have been heard. Pursuing this possibility, the ARINC recording tapes for the frequency in which such message would be recorded were carefully examined. Initially, nothing was apparent. However, repeated playbacks of the tapes of the period following the 0104 position report disclosed previously unknown transmissions, which were extremely weak and subject to varied and conflicting interpretation. Now, the fact that this report mentions a possible tape that could have been recording a potential distress call, but due to differing opinions on what was on the tape, it was never included as potential evidence. And hereafter, this tape vanished from the public record, and no formal copy of it has ever been found in Pan American archives. This seems very questionable, but we'll get back to this in a bit. Because, to summarize this report, it doesn't seem to draw many conclusions, and the only points they seem to settle firmly on seem to be for the sake of saving face for Pan Am. While technically nothing could really be ruled out, they claimed sabotage was impossible. They claimed the fire had to have started after the crash. And regarding those maintenance records, let's just say those weren't properly investigated either. This is rather suspicious, but to add to the layers of our mystery here, something you should understand in the context of the CAB was that before this government agency was disbanded, essentially the same government agency tasked with managing the competition between the airlines was the same one that got to make the safety rules, as well as the same group responsible for investigating accidents. This was a recipe for conflict of interest, and even the advisor to FDR mentioned that consolidating these agencies might result in some cases where investigators would whitewash the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, when I saw civil in
Now, as far
the
as
front
what
of it, I was
details
like,
were known regarding conflict of
could be
interest at
either
this
like
particular time, one
like
mechanic at one of the
unionized or
944
like
hearings
straight government
had
owned.
reportedly testified that he had overheard a CAB investigator and a Pan Am executive discussing where they were going to go to dinner that night and what time they were going to play golf the next morning. Pan Am benefited
Not even
greatly from the
government owned, but
situation remaining a
like
mystery, lest
owned by
further
the
scrutiny and lawsuits come their way
big, just a
regarding the
couple big
safety of their
companies
aircraft or the negligence of anyone from
in the
their
industry.
company. If this was sabotage or an accidental fire, the question is then raised, why weren't there further safety precautions to prevent this? If the accident was conclusively due to poor maintenance, the question is then, why was Pan Am not properly taking care of their aircraft? In either situation, Pan Am would be left at the whim of an unsympathetic jury. But lucky for them, you would need to provide evidence of proper negligence. And that's pretty hard to do when the majority of the evidence has been left at the bottom of the ocean. And while Pan Am and the CAB weren't too interested in getting to the bottom of things, that wouldn't stop other details regarding this case to come out soon after.
Ocean joke. Pursuer in pain.
Now, while certain details made it into the CAB's report, an extra set of details did not. And that includes the fact that for some time, Pan Am had suspected one of their own employees to have played a role in sabotaging the flight. Per the research of Greg Herkin and Ken Fortenberry, who both have personal ties to this particular mystery, as Ken Fortenberry's father was the navigator and Greg Herkin
this is that article I pulled up.
one of the flight attendants. So that being considered, after looking through various Pan Am records and interviewing various employees, they discovered quite a few interesting details regarding one of the pursers aboard Flight 7. That purser was Eugene Crossway.
Published in airspace,
And by
air and
company
space.
records, he
My
was
bad.
reported to have been mentally unstable, written up multiple times for his strange behavior, apparently labeled as having a suicidal persecution complex. And as a resident of Santa Cruz, he was reported to have had issues with the police in his hometown, where they labeled him a psycho over the treatment of his stepdaughter. Now, he became a father due to his wife's previous marriage. And after his wife passed away 3 months before this flight, he had become resentful towards his daughter, where he reportedly blamed the death of his wife on his daughter. Crossway, by other accounts, resented the company he worked for. He reportedly held a grudge against Pan Am as a result of him getting tuberculosis in Shanghai while working on one of their flights. And the morning that Pan Am Flight 7 was getting ready to take off, he had updated his will to disinherit his daughter unless very specific criteria were met, and left it in the glove box of his car before getting onto the plane.
That's
After interviewing various relatives,
really weird.
Crossway's father-in-law had recalled him showing a handful of blasting powder several days before the flight. And on the week before his flight, he had reportedly spent the previous week spending long hours in the basement of his relative's house. With this new lead, they searched far and wide around his property, but never ended up finding the source of this powder after the crash. And even Crossway's daughter had testified to the police that she had believed that Crossway had taken down the plane, as he was, quote, too chicken to go alone. Now, obviously, none of these details made it into the report. However, that being said, Crossway's case isn't the only red flag among passengers of Flight 7. Because when it came to the earlier days of commercial aviation, there were multiple instances of people purchasing large insurance policies and then sabotaging the plane to collect the money. A man by the name of John Gilbert Graham placed an explosive into his mother's suitcase after he had purchased a life insurance policy from the airport. Another person by the name of Albert Guay did a similar thing in 1949 to his wife. Now, the reason both of these men ended up getting caught was because the wreckage was able to be fully recovered.
Oh my
and
god, it
recovered
actually
quickly.
went through with.
Case of John
Oh
Gilbert
my
Graham,
god, that's
there was a
just.
strong
Oh,
explosive
fucking
smell
horrible. I
coming
thought
from the
they didn't
baggage
actually
compartment
go.
of the plane.
They got caught.
But in the case of Albert Guay, Guay
Oh
had
my
actually
God.
attempted to set the timer on the explosive to the exact time that the plane was over the St. Lawrence River. Had the plane been sabotaged at the correct time, collecting forensic evidence at the time would have been much harder. But what Guay didn't anticipate was the fact that the flight was delayed by 5 minutes. So given this recent history, it was worth considering that the total amount of insurance bought for all of the passengers in this flight. And that was a total of $235,000. And one passenger had an abnormally high amount of insurance. One of the tickets sold to a passenger on Flight 7 belonged to a man by the name of William Harrison Payne. And some of the details surrounding Payne would come out to the newspapers over a year later, as a separate insurance company had gone to the press offering their own investigation, and they were refusing to pay out one of the policies that they had for William Payne. Because when they had investigated...
Well, I don't know. I'm sketchy about insurance companies, but well, we'll go.
Payne, they found his story to be somewhat suspicious.
They have reason,
According to his
you know.
official story, Payne was going to Hawaii to collect money owed to him from a long overdue debt. The wife refused to disclose the amount of debt that was owed to William Payne. She also refused to provide the name of the debtor, and he only bought a one-way ticket. On top of that, the investigator looked at the call history for Payne and showed that he made no calls to Hawaii. He was not known to have had any acquaintances from Hawaii. And looking at the family's bank account, it showed that they were on the brink of bankruptcy. The family's bank account from the month of October went from $631 with an ending balance of $18.49. And on November 4th, they wrote 2 checks, one for an amount of $175.54. This bought a one-way ticket to Honolulu. And the second check, totaling $437.40, paid for fire insurance on their lodge for a year. And
Which
William
I imagine
Harrison
burnt
Payne
down.
didn't have 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 life insurance policies that would have covered his trip. The first 2 were travel policies that were insured from separate companies at the airport for a total of $125,000. Another was from a private insurance company by the name of Western Life Insurance. This policy was $10,000 and would double to $20,000 in case of an accidental death. And his
Oh,
fourth
so only
policy
one
that he
didn't pay it
carried
out.
came in the form of a national service life
Maybe.
policy, which was valued at $10,000, and this was GI insurance from the government.
Wow.
All in all, the total payout to his wife, should he pass away, would have been $155,000.
Jesus.
For today's equivalent, that would be around $1.5 million. And details only get stranger as you look into Payne's life situation. For 22 years, he had been a Navy frogman, a demolition expert. He was honorably
Precursors to the
discharged from
SEAls.
the Navy.
Yeah.
However, he then began
They're
working
a
as
forerunner to the
operator
Navy
of an inn
SEAls.
called the Roxbury Lodge in Scottsbar, California. Due to this lodge, Payne was in overwhelming amounts of debt, and he was continuing to lose more and more money as a result of this occupation. The previous lodge owner had sold it to Payne as they weren't able to turn a profit on it anymore. And after Payne was discharged from the Navy, he had hoped to turn the operation around back into a profitable business from various mining operations. And while these ultimately proved unsuccessful as the money was continuing to dry up, forcing him into far more debt, this led to other money-making schemes from Payne as he had recently gotten in trouble with the law. A year prior, he had set up an illegal toll booth on a public road near his lodge.
What?
Then after being threatened with arrest should he not stop, he blew up and bulldozed 1.6 miles of the road. It wouldn't be until 3 weeks before his flight to Honolulu that Payne had also been hit with an additional fine for $550
Oh my
for his
God.
crimes a year prior. And while you might expect the widow to be grieving, 7 months after Flight 7 disappeared, Harriet Payne, William Payne's wife, took a trip to Tijuana and got married to their neighbor. 2 days after, while the couple was on their honeymoon, the Roxbury Lodge had burned to the ground. If you recall, Payne paid for a year of insurance in the lodge the same day he bought that ticket. The insurance company expected arson and wanted to investigate further. It was at this point that Harriet Payne would go on to file a lawsuit, forcing them to settle the particular case. Harriet Payne would also go on to sue the Western Life Insurance Company as well for not paying out the $20,000. After the judge was presented with 2 testimonies, that of the mother of William Payne, who claimed she saw him walk up the stairs that morning, and a written statement from a Pan Am counteragent who claimed that he had checked in William Payne that morning, and a subsequent head count showed that all of the passengers were on board that morning, the judge then quickly scolded the insurance firm, despite them not getting to present much of their case. Now, given the parents' testimony claiming that they both saw him go off that day, this would mean that the following is also true. Payne took his newly born daughter on a car ride from Roxbury Lodge to Stockton, California, the days before. Then on the day of the flight, Payne, his parents, and his daughter all made their way back to San Francisco the morning of. And if this is true, that means that Payne left his daughter in his mother's care to see an unknown someone to collect an unknown debt and would return at an unknown date. All while having no money, 2 bad checks ready to bounce, and a house that's about to be foreclosed on. That being said, though, William Payne's body was never found. Harriet Payne would also receive an additional $71,000 after settling out of court with Pan Am, and an additional $5,000 after the lodge had burned down. In total, Harriet Payne would collect about $231,000 from the death of her husband,
$3 million.
or when calculated for inflation, about $2.2 million.
Nah, 2.2,
Naturally,
okay.
you have to ask if Harriet Payne agreed that the purpose of her husband's trip to Honolulu was to collect a debt, but would not disclose the amount or who it was coming from. You might stop for a moment to think what she really meant by that.
Insurance
And
companies?
if William Payne had nothing to do with Flight 7 going missing, it might be worth asking if the flight was sabotaged in a different way.
Oh. All right. Got a twist.
I think we need to address one of the bigger picture issues about the romance of the skies. And per the research of Greg Herkin and Ken Fortenberry again, one of the things they uncovered in their search for more info was further evidence of collusion between the CAB and Pan Am. Previous inspections on the aircraft in the weeks prior showed that one of 944's engines had experienced constant fluctuation in oil pressure, leaks from the turbochargers, and persistent cooling problems. And at the time, Pan Am was getting a bit in over their head with these Boeing 377s. While luxurious, and they may have been the pinnacle of air travel in the day, the aircraft was continuing to cost the airline more and more money, and this short-lived model of plane was well on its way to getting a replacement that would be more cost-efficient. Rather than take a loss in the interim, though, this meant that Pan Am had to cut corners in less ethical areas, such as cutting inspection staff and having mechanics sign off on their own work rather than a supervisor. And when it came to the hearings at the CAB regarding Flight 7, a union representative for the fleets at San Francisco claimed that there had been a drastic curtailment of inspection personnel, so much so that he cited it to a dangerous level. And perhaps the worst part about all of this was that Pan Am had used their influence to change the wording in the CAB's report. where the attorney for Pan Am had written to the CAB that he hoped to withhold the maintenance report from the public. And in the final report, we see no mention of the aforementioned.
Oof.
Now, given the fact that poor maintenance may have played a role in this mystery, it's worth considering the consequences of a propeller-related malfunction that may have led to an engine failure, as this is one of the main theories regarding this mystery. And like I mentioned earlier, this is perhaps one of the most well-documented problems with the Boeing 777. And while it may have been possible that the engine detaching or a propeller losing control...
What if dude was even 5 head more, that other guy that... and knew that this plane was like shitty maintenance was done on it. I don't know though. He's probably, I said he was poor, but he was also in the Army and the Navy and stuff, so he could I don't know.
Would definitely have caused some problems. That's not to say that it would have been deadly the majority of the time. And something I want you to take into consideration regarding aircraft investigations at the time was that there were no black boxes. And something that we have learned in the modern day with aviation safety is that relying on a wreck solely for information on how the plane crashed is a terrible idea. And in this particular case, I believe it leads to a phenomenon that you may have heard of. It's called survivorship bias. Only the planes that made it back alive could tell you what went wrong, and this skews your perception of reality as you make assumptions about what you do not know. And this also happened with planes during World War II. And taking a look at this photo, you might notice something. While the US military thought at the time that the most shot areas needed more armor, the reality of what this photo is showing you is that the planes that made it back didn't get shot in the most vital area. And that being said, in the limited discussions I've found on this particular topic, nearly everyone writes off the majority of this story and just focuses on the propeller problem. So let's peel back some of that context and figure out just how deadly and unsafe the Stratocruiser actually was. On January 24th, 1950, a Stratocruiser en route to Japan lost its number 4 engine, but still managed to land safely. And a similar thing happened to another Stratocruiser the next day. They also managed to land safely.
That's what I'm saying is like, if it's just an engine failure, you're still able to control like your...
But found at 12.5 inches of the propeller missing. Additionally, another propeller incident took place in 1953, where a flight from Honolulu to Wake Island had another propeller mishap, but this time the pilot changed their route to a closer destination, and after an additional 350 miles, everyone landed safely. Another incident in 1956 occurred very close to where Flight 7 went down. This was actually Pan Am Flight 6, and it was a sister aircraft to Flight 7, called Sovereign of the Skies. The flight was returning to San Francisco from Honolulu, and about halfway through the number 1 engine oversped, right around the location of Ocean Station, November, and the pilot managed to stay in the air till daybreak and then ditch the plane, and all 31 people survived. They even got the entire situation on camera. Nearly every instance of this propeller overspeed incident occurring wasn't deadly.
The first one, or the one prior,
without a shadow of a doubt, that was deadly, was in 1955. Where the number 3 engine and propeller tore loose off the wing of a 377 off the coast of Oregon. The pilot still managed to regain some control and ditch, resulting in only 4 casualties while the other 19 survived. These never resulted in a loss of radio communication, and in each case there was a distress call. And on top of that, there was no fire damage after the fact. So survivorship bias aside, this propeller problem was largely not a death sentence. And while this problem is cited in one of the worst accidents ever attributed to a 377, let's take a look at what actually happened.
Wicked. Pan Am Flight 202. Sorry, that shit's in front of it. My bad.
One particular case in 1952 made this problem infamous, where a 377 en route from Rio de Janeiro to the port of Spain had some circumstances that were eerily similar to Flight 7. 1 minute everything seemed fine, until the plane had failed to make its next position report. There was no distress call. Then, after going missing with a massive search effort for several days, they found that the plane had completely disintegrated. over what was at the time a dense and unexplored part of the Amazon jungle, where shortly after various newspapers covered the story, where the US Air Force had given a comment stating, photographs of the plane and the disposition of the bodies had indicated that the plane had exploded. Additionally, another report 19 days after this came out in the newspapers stating, the CAB officials said their field investigators have determined the wreckage was too widely scattered for the plane to have crashed from engine failure, pointing to the possibility that the tragedy resulted from a mid-air explosion. Shortly after this plane went down, a rival expedition funded by the former governor of Sao Paulo, Ademar Pereira de Barros, used paratroopers to drop to the scene a few days after the plane had been located. And this rogue expedition, funded by a politician, had beat the main search party to the location, where they soon found that they had ransacked the site. And this was particularly interesting because there were other reports at the time from the Brazilian government's own newspaper had stated that $200,000 in currency, 500 grams of aquamarines, and other things like diamonds had been reported on the plane.
What the fuck?
Now, as tensions built between the two search parties, the expedition later turned to a matter of survival, as the unofficial group had not packed enough supplies, and they began to steal supplies from the official search party. After the main search party became strained of resources, the main search party decided to abandon their efforts and leave the other rival search party to the elements. At this point, only a handful of the unofficial group still remained, and they decided to take 2 members of the official investigation hostage. And while the situation was later de-escalated and everyone was rescued,
Jesus.
It wouldn't be until 2.5 months later that they would actually conduct a proper investigation. And looking through this final report, they do a complete 180 and throw out all previous mentions of sabotage, and the report neatly places blame on the propeller, all while refusing to explain how the plane disintegrated. And the only evidence they had to support this theory of this propeller being the issue was that the number 2 propeller and its engine were not found with the other pieces of wreckage. And aside from some oil also found on the plane, that's really the only evidence they had to come up with this theory. Moreover, what's particularly interesting about this plane is that it was noted to have very little signs of collision damage when it crashed, where the investigation deduces that the plane's disintegration was more so a result of something that happened in the air. But thereafter, they failed to come up with any logical explanation for why that happened. And looking through their various reasoning for why it could not have been sabotage, it's hardly convincing.
It would spread out.
As the investigation tried to argue that the plane had disintegrated without exploding, and while they note no relative distortion of the fuselage, once again, this is a case of them speculating on evidence they don't have access to. Because given how little remained of the plane's center fuselage from a subsequent fire, this isn't conclusively ruled out. And in their words, not mine, any evidence of an explosion could have been obliterated by a subsequent fire. And their second point of contention against any type of explosion,
I wonder what fuel they use for these engines too.
It should have separated the plane's spar from the fuselage, and the spar is essentially the main load-bearing portion of the wing. Now that being said, the left wing was found detached a half-mile away. And the fact that every other instance of this propeller failing resulted in a distress call, but in this particular instance they explained that away, saying that radios in the area were known to not work, or that some kind of language barrier would have prevented them from sending an SOS. But clearly the radio worked perfectly fine when they gave their positional report. And while I could spend a lot more time picking apart this particular report, ultimately, if you're going to argue that the plane disintegrated without exploding, all while doubling back on your original statement, you'd expect some heavy evidence in the opposite direction. But that's not what happens. And especially when you consider the bizarre circumstances surrounding the original investigation, where some of the evidence may have been tampered with, there's a number of different scenarios that you can let run wild in your head. And while they fail to establish any reason for structural disintegration, ultimately they leave it as, we don't know, but it definitely was not sabotage. And perhaps the most questionable piece of evidence with this entire thing, a man by the name of Jorge de Godoy. Now Godoy, one of the passengers on Pan Am Flight 202, was the Attorney General to Brazil, and reportedly there had already been multiple attempts to assassinate him.
Oh my God.
And a later search of his desk showed something incredibly interesting. It was an unopened cablegram that was sent to him days before, but he had not opened it. When they read the message that was left on his desk, it was a warning sent to him by US officials, warning him not to travel by plane. Rather suspicious when you factor in that other reports at the time had labeled Ademar Pereira as a political arch-nemesis to Godoy.
Well then.
Now that we have a full context on this propeller problem, there's one final piece of evidence that I wanted to show you in regards to Pan Am Flight 7, because the fact that this was left out of the final report is incredibly concerning, as it paints a far different picture regarding the crash and the people investigating it. Because one of the final documents that was found by the two previously mentioned men, Ken Fortenberry and Greg Herkin, was the detail so damning it showed that the CAB had completely covered up crucial pieces of evidence for the sake of saving face for Pan Am. This doesn't fully solve the mystery, but if you recall that tape I mentioned in the accident report, containing an SOS message, where they mentioned that due to differing opinions than what was on the tape, they didn't include it in the evidence, that mystery tape was partially found in 2014. But it wasn't the tape itself, that's still missing. It's the transcript of the tape. And in regards to the original investigation into Pan Am Flight 7, when they were going over their radio transmissions, they managed to hear a faint distress call over the radio. And while they concluded there was a message on it, they couldn't decipher the specifics. That much is true. And it was originally written off. However, two audio engineers from the Dictaphone Corporation had later volunteered to review the tapes and provide findings using more advanced audio equipment. And this transcript is what they deciphered from the tape. And apparently this was independently verified by 4 different witnesses. Keep in mind, the words in this paper are still a weak translation of what was on the tape. It starts with SO 292, special number and flyer, also understood as number on fire. Attention all stations Pan American Air, verification channel bearing 11. Still have 1 tank full, am ditching flight. CQ, Syracuse, New York. J-arm, tail is missing. Then a new voice would come onto the report, did you chart me? Followed by some unaudible words and then special position. Then it would go back to the original voice stating fuel control 3456, followed by 02 fuel flow, 02 fuel flow, coordinate, what about 3 engine? Now there's a couple of things about this transcript that we need to consider. First off, the context of the script is open for interpretation. And while I'm going to give my thoughts on this transcript, I would also like to hear what you guys have to say as well. Now, the second thing about this transmission is that it was over an
Sounds like they're like running out of fuel? Or like they're not getting fuel to certain engines?
open microphone at around 7.5 minutes after the final position report, placing this around 1:11 to 1:12 GMT. And the final thing we need to consider is that the transmission may or may not cut out, as the only context that they could decipher from this particular transcript was that it happened after 7.5 minutes. And to explain what I mean, for this first part with SO, I would presume that would be a cutoff part of an SOS. And then after that, 292 special would be presumed to be 292 special position, as he states this later in the transcript, and 292 would likely be the first digits of their northern coordinate. Then the transmission resumed with number on fire, as I think this might make the most sense given the CO2 found in the bodies later on. Then continuing down a couple
number
lines,
of engines are on fire,
seems to be in
maybe.
reference to the fact that they were heading northeast. A couple more lines down from that, CQ is a type of radio call. However, I'm not entirely sure why they would direct that at Syracuse, New York. Then the next line, J-arm is missing tail. Now, if parts of their tail are actually missing, that would drastically reduce the pilot's control over the plane and would likely cause a crash soon after. Looking at various flight simulators for when this happens, you can see how drastic something like this would be. However, it's also worth considering that something caused the flight crew to make a drastic turn to the right. And I must say this is just speculation, but I'm not entirely convinced of this particular cause given the various SOS signals found later on. And on the other hand, this particular phrase could be a part of a cut-out transmission, or it could have been misheard by the interpreters. Now, in regards to the last lines and their mention of fuel control and 02 fuel flow, something you should know about these types of planes is that they also had flight engineers and navigators also inside of the cockpit. And from what I can tell regarding these mentions of oxygen fuel flow and fuel control, this would be them adjusting their plane's settings for a ditch.
Yep.
Now, this last mention of free engine, this last phrase is also incredibly mysterious. And this last statement could hint at a range of things. It could be as big as them noticing a sudden problem with that engine, or as little as them simply communicating to each other regarding their controls.
They're turbocharged
But on that
engines
note,
too.
if they were having problems with number 3 engine, whatever had happened
So
to
there's
cause
a
them to
lot
ditch had already
of
happened
pressure
prior
in
to
those.
them making
So
this
them
distress call.
exploding,
And we know the
let
plane
alone the
would impact the
propellers
water at
falling
around
off,
127
would be
GMT,
really
around
bad.
13.5
Could be
minutes
really
after
bad
this
at
initial
least.
conversation
You know.
took place. So as to why this would be the crew's last recorded transmission, that is also a mystery. And while ultimately this gives us a pretty clear timeline, the nature of what this emergency was and how it happened is still anything but clear. And in conclusion, what...
Here, let me do this real quick. YouTube, truck blows up on dyno. It ran away. This one. So that truck right there. Oh, sorry. So I imagine they were probably diesel engines at that time, the 50s, turbo diesels like this, similar to this engine. And if they run away, you'll see what I mean. Listen to the throttle. The throttle's still cranking harder and harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. It's not like it blows up and it stops. It runs away with it. Runs all the fuel out. That's what I think they're talking about. One of the engines might have blown and ran away. Maybe. I don't know. This is obviously way different. Way different technology. Same concept though. And there is no stopping that thing. You have to let it burn itself out pretty much. Going in for another run on it too. It won't stop. It cools down a little bit, it keeps going. Jesus. That is so scary. I think it burned the bottom of the dyno. It burned through the bottom of the dyno. Oh my god, there it is finally.
Near as we can tell, the Charger exploded, and when it launched the turbine wheel out, it blew the elbow off of it. It went back, hit the cold side just above the air intake, which aspirated the engine. Then there was nothing stopping it, and all the shutoffs would have failed. It continued backwards, hit the breather filter, sheared that off, and shattered the windshield. It just ran away on its own oil after that. There was no way we could stop it.
I saw the driver got out pretty quickly.
Mark Broviak from Daniel Performance was in the seat. He's a tuner on that truck. He's fine. Cody and Elmer, who run the dyno, they're both fine. The only really concern, it's an LSM 460 billet Duramax block, Wagler billet heads, but the fire sheared the dry sump oil pump belt off. So there's concern that there's going to be some pretty heavy bearing damage.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. No one cares. At least no one died.
That is also a mystery.
That's scary.
While ultimately this gives us a pretty clear timeline, the nature of what this emergency was and how it happened is still anything but clear. And in conclusion, whatever the fate of Flight 7 may be, I must say it's one of those mysteries that will remain unsolved until there is some easy way to scan the bottom of the ocean to get our answer. Assuming the plane's wreckage remains after all of these years, it may be as simple as just taking a look down there to give the situation some clarity.
That'd be pretty
But
cool.
until then, given the amount of questionable details regarding this investigation, the possibilities regarding how the plane endured its final moments are vast. From the questionable details surrounding the maintenance schedule over at Pan Am, to the questionable details surrounding the story of the purser and William Payne. But whatever the case may be, perhaps one of the most eye-opening things about air crash investigations at this time, it seemed that nobody was fully interested in investigating this crash beyond the surface level. And the people whose job was to investigate this barely lifted a finger beyond blaming a known issue without much evidence. And it's
Or a turbocharger failure. That's what I'm saying, is like that could be the actual cause, but the company didn't want to disclose that because then it would scare people from flying on their planes.
Particularly pathetic that when they found information that questioned their initial assessment, they went as far as to cover it up and push it to the side. And I want you to keep in mind that people who have kept this mystery alive over the years are people with personal connections to this mystery. One of the main sources which I've referenced through and throughout this video is Ken Fortenberry, and his book Flight 7 is Missing: The Search for My Father's Killer. And given the fact that his search for answers have spanned his entire life, I can only imagine how downright frustrating it must have been to have had at least portions
He's
of this
kind of,
mystery
he
gate-kept
probably
for
wants
so
to
many
blame
years.
somebody, you know,
While Ken
and
writes
it's harder
in
to
his
just
book that he
blame the
believed that
company.
Eugene Crosswaite, the purser, was behind this incident after speaking to his stepdaughter decades later.
Yeah, but his
particularly
stepdaughter
about his
doesn't like
mental
him
state.
anyways.
There's still a strong case to be made for someone like William Payne, or a number of other mechanical issues, or even a freak accident. Well, as always, I'd love to know what you guys think about this entire situation.
It's a very,
I think all I have
there's
to
a
say
lot
for
of
now is
intricate
that
moving
this
parts
is
to
very
him.
Sociable. Have a good night.
That was sick. But on that have a good night, I think I'm gonna have a good night as well. So I'll see you guys. Love you.
Shut the fuck up. You're a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. You're a stupid cunt. Suck my dick. Shut the fuck up. Stop being a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. Nobody even wants you here. Yeah. What? Yeah. I just wanna let you know you're a stupid fucking cunt. Go ahead and run your mouth, pussy. I don't give a fuck. You're a stupid piece of shit. You're a stupid fucking bitch. Get the fuck up off my dick. Get the fuck up off my dick. Like, please end your fucking life. Please end your fucking life. I really gotta emphasize, no one cares if you're alive. You're a fucking penis hole. Grab a dick and eat it whole. I need to know if you were dropped when you were just a fetus though. You're so fucking ugly and your face is fucking foul. Jeez, you're so fucking loud. Can you shut your fucking mouth? Can you shut the fuck up? You're a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. You're a stupid cunt. Suck my dick. Shut the fuck up. Stop being a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. Nobody even wants you here. Yeah. Close your fucking mouth, you're just really fucking dense. If you hate me while you talking, you don't make no fucking sense. Got a sad life, go to fucking hell. Are you stupid or disabled, man? I can't fucking tell. Man, you're a fucking dumb shit, you don't even run shit. Get the fuck up out my face and go to hell and eat a dick. Come and catch these hands, boy, come and match these bands, boy. I'm not crazy, I just do it all because I can, boy. I hope you fucking die in a high-speed car crash. I hope you fucking fall head first and get your neck cracked. I hope you have some beautiful children that die from cancer. I hope you catch Zika when your wife gets pregnant. I hope you win the lottery and die the next day, and your daughter has to see you getting lowered in your grave. Like, that was a little dark. I'm sorry. That was a little dark. Very poor taste. Shut the fuck up. I shouldn't have said that. You're a fucking cunt. Actually, no, I should have. Shut the fuck up. I didn't say enough. You're a stupid cunt. Suck my dick. Shut the fuck up. stop being a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. Nobody even wants you here.